Good morning, I'm Regina Manyara and this is KBC Channel 1. You're tuned to Good Morning Kenya. Top news in the last 24 hours is that the Senate failed to agree on the revenue sharing formula yesterday. That saw the Speaker of the Senate adjourn this particular debate for next week. At the same time, in as far as COVID-19 status report for Kenya is concerned, is that 14 more people succumbed to the deadly virus. This and so much more coming up in the news as we focus on stories making headlines locally, regionally, and internationally.
Well, good morning to you, and as usual, thank you so much for choosing Good Morning Kenya to inform you and set your pace this Wednesday morning. On our roads this morning, we still focus on Jogoro. We wanted to do that yesterday, we didn't get a chance, but this morning we look at the traffic flow specifically on that road, especially for those going about their activities and businesses in this early morning hour, given the fact that that is one of those busy roads in the morning rush hour. In addition to that, I shall also be speaking to Birita. This morning, we still look at interior design, but a different facet of it. We look at budgeting, actually interior design within a budget, doing it just within a budget. That is what she'll be talking to us about. Of course, her journey and how one can be able to do that for those startups that want to venture into that business. And also, we will be looking at giving back to the society. We speak again to another young lady, Stephanie Wanjiru, telling us about her organization, what exactly they do that and what necessitated her to want to give back to the society and the community at large. Many thanks for making time. My name is Doreen Arange.
Now, top stories. Nakanga montage. Of July 2020, what we have in the front page of the various newspapers issues are as follows as we start in the headlines. Now, on the Daily Nation, salaries heartbreak for NAT members. Now, some 32,556 teachers do not receive improved pay or get promoted after the Teachers Service Commission said they are under the scheme of service that is favored by their union. Now there is just a sneak peek as to, what has been passed, or rather the improved salaries that take effect on the 1st of this month. That is the 1st of July 2020. For instance, salary point 1, job group pre-CBA, that is G, and the new job group is B5. The pre-CBA salary was 16,692. The first phase, it improved to 19,224. Second phase, 21,756, and the final total is at 27,195. Now, about 130,000 teachers are in job group BF. That is what the Daily Nation has given, more precedence to in as far as headlines are concerned in their issue, the 29th issue, 29th of July 2020 newspaper issue. Above there is that still no deal on revenue sharing formula after a series of amendments and grandstanding. Senators once again failed to agree on a formula for allocation of county revenues and adjourned the discussions to next week. KBC Channel 1 was live and brought to you blow-by-blow account of what was happening. It was actually one of the trending topics we had on social media, especially on Twitter. Hashtag, Senate. Now, this is the 6th time that senators have failed to agree on the revenue sharing allocation. Remember, one man, one vote, 1 shilling debate also took center stage at the floor of the House. Now, COVID-19, drugs to be tested in Kenya, patients at major public and private hospitals to be treated with remdesivir. I don't know how to, probably I'm not getting that antiviral drug correctly in terms of pronunciation, but these tests are set to begin both in public and private hospitals, while fights over party cash get messy. That is disgruntled members of Jubilee and NARC threaten to lodge disputes in court. Matters of politics there also being given precedence in as far as this issue of the newspaper is concerned. On the back page of the same paper, court throws out case against JSC nominees. Now, lobby was challenged was challenging the appointment of Professor Mugenda, Mr. Koskei, as well as Mr. Geshohi. Now, there is that the Judicial Service Commission cannot restrict the power of nomination and appointment given by the President under Article 172, Section 2. That is what we have on the front page and the back page of the Daily Nation. Crossing over to the Star this morning, a little bit, not so much difference between the two issues of the newspaper. There we have Senators defy Raila, Uhuru in Kashrao. This is in regard to what happened, or rather what transpired at the Senate yesterday. Now, remember, this particular debate has been adjourned to next week, Tuesday. Will more whooping take place to have members allied to the two vote in their favor? Well, we will take a look at that in detail. Now, the new method could take effect in 2022. Now, quoted there is Raila Odinga. It has also taken a dangerous ethnic undertone instead of being level-headed debate on the nation's development trajectory. Those are sentiments shared there by the former premier in regard to the revenue sharing, proposed formula that failed to carry the day on the floor of the House in as far as the Senate proceedings are concerned. Now, diplomatic tiff. Mkapa Kenya denies TZ turned back delegation. That Kenya was actually turned back the TZ delegation that was going to just participate in the send-off of former Tanzanian President Benjamin Mkapa was turned off. More details on that. We will be focusing on that in not too long. And also we're going to be looking at succession politics with a focus on the ANC party that is led by Musalia Mudavadi. Back page. This is an issue. Back page has been given precedence. What has taken precedence on the back page of the Star this morning is a new look Nyayo. Now PS Okudo assures stadium will be ready for the Keep Kano Classic. Will it? These renovations at the Nyayo Stadium have taken a little bit too long, but now the sports PS Okudo assures the stadium will be ready for the Keep Kano Classic. That is what we have on the back page of the Star this morning.
Well, still keeping up with the overviews of our papers. This morning on the Standard, the main header is cutting Kinoti down to size. Image of the DCI there, and says it's hardly a week after the High Court slammed brakes on him. DCI boss suffers yet another blow, and this is after prosecution guidelines, which he opposed to, are endorsed by his bosses. What next for the daredevil cop? That is the question being asked there. This story has been fleshed out inside the paper on page 6. We'll be unpacking more of that when you get to see what more is inside the Standard this morning. Still on the front page, the matters to do with the revenue sharing formula, just saying that twists, turns as senators decide on county billions, saying that senators last night confronted the hard decision after a spirited bid by Orengo and Wetangula to adjourn the motion to seek consensus failed. Again, we'll also be seeing more of that when we get to see more of what is inside the paper this morning. On the sidebar, it is the ugly scenes as city leaders engage in supremacy battles. The NMS and the county boss Mike Sonko, they are just bringing supremacy battles as the MCAs had wanted to impeach Beatrice Elachi, just showing us the ugly scenes of city leaders as they engage in supremacy battles. And this happened yesterday. We saw a couple of MCs just being beaten by police, and also the hashtag trending yesterday, police brutality. So that is what was happening yesterday. And also how Corona is robbing Kenyans of their culture. From burial rituals to rites of passage, the COVID pandemic is leaving chaos in its wake and rewriting age-old cultural norms and practices. This is also part of the conversation we had yesterday with the doctor. They are just telling us that it's time to embrace new medical ways and sort of try to do away with some culture. But it sort of looks like COVID is making Kenyans to just embrace new culture and try to do away with some old culture there. That is a story again of one particular area in this country, that is probably the Bukusu on the western side of Kenya. But again, we'll be seeing more of that when we get to unpack the paper. Again, also on the sidebar, matters sports, how smart footballers are juggling football and academics. That is one caption we're having there, just saying that current footballers are now following in the footsteps of JJ Masiga and Obwaka in pursuit for academic excellence. Stories of two footballers who are not just following and pursuing their passions when it comes to football, but also trying to get more academic excellence. That again is the story of those two footballers there, and that is what we have on the front page of the Standard this morning.
Now we'll start off with in the headlines. I'd rather give you further details in regard to stories that have made headlines in the last 24 hours. And we start off with the issue of the COVID-19 status in the country. Now, fingers crossed as Kenya joins search for a cure in drugs test. Captured days at recruitment of clinical trials for TCZ is currently ongoing. Now, although the trial of the drug does not have a well-defined sample size, it may go up to 10,000 and will involve adults aged 18 years and above who have been admitted to hospital with COVID-19 and are not on any treatment with other drugs being studied. The recruitment is expected to end on February 28th next year, and results are expected to be published by the end of next year. Still on the issue of COVID is that now the CS of Health, Mr. Kagwe, says that the city is close to being overrun. CS hints at the possibility of moving patients to other counties. Earlier, the government had warned that no COVID patient would be transferred to Nairobi if the counties did not put up the systems in order. However, it seems that the boot is now on the other foot, with Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe yesterday saying both private and public hospitals in the city are overwhelmed, yet counties have more space. Is this a case where we now will be transferring the sick to the county, or rather the devolved units? This looks likely is going to be the turn that the Ministry of Health is going to take in light of, the current situation. Looking at it in as far as Kenya is concerned, among, countries that are worst hit by the coronavirus, is that Kenya now is ranked at position 7, having registered 18,581 cases of COVID-19, with 299 deaths so far, as well as 7,908 recoveries. Position 7, while South Africa still is at the helm with 452,529 infected persons or other cases of COVID-19, with 7,067 deaths and a recovery caseload of 274,925. The least affected country within Africa, or rather the continent, is Western Sahara, that currently has 10 cases of COVID-19, 1 death and 8 recoveries, ranking position 55.
Well, and still keeping up with the COVID-19 updates this morning. At the bottom end of the paper, Badi to build 24 health facilities to fight the virus. Just saying that the NMS services will now build 24 health facilities in the informal settlements to contain the COVID-19 pandemic. The Director General, Mohamed Badi, said that, and he said that these facilities to be built in Korogosho, Kibera, Mathare and Mukuru slums will be completed by September. That is what he is assuring Kenyans, that these facilities will be completed by September. And again, this is just to curb COVID-19 and at least assist for those that are living in the informal setups. And I mentioned those areas just before, saying that also these facilities will not only help improve the health standards of these informal settlements, but will also assist in isolation. That is what he said, and he said by September, at least these facilities will be complete. But again, still on COVID, the COVID cases stretch health system, and as death rises, saying that the government has admitted that the healthcare system is stretched by the COVID pandemic, as it reported 14 deaths the highest number of fatalities in a single day. Now, this raises the number of COVID-related fatalities to 299, with Ministry of Health officials alluding to a possible shortage of critical care services. And of this 14 that succumbed yesterday, 4 did not have any underlying conditions, as revealed by the health DG, that is Dr. Amoth, while the rest had underlying conditions ranging from cancer, hypertension, diabetes, and end-stage renal diseases. Just healthcare workers saying that this is stretching the system, some not even having beds where they can lie, as Kenya recorded the highest rate of fatalities in just a single day.
Now, giving us more details in regard to where we are, and as far as COVID-19 is concerned, let us look at a detailed report as just how prepared the counties are in the face of COVID-19. A report prepared by Beatrice Gatonye.
Tuesday morning, Health Principal Secretary Susan Mochache and Foreign Affairs Chief Administrative Secretary Ababu Namwamba were at Kemsa Embakasi warehouse to receive COVID-19 response supplies worth 110 million shillings from the Chinese government. Mochache saying the donation, which included personal protective equipment, sanitizers, test kits, among others, will go a long way in assisting Kenya contain the spread of COVID-19.
So I want to assure you that all the 47 counties receive PPEs either bought through the government or through partners or donated based on an allocation that is fair and that is equitable.
And when you look at this list, all our 47 counties have been given a share, from Sambweni to Budalangi, from Loitoktok to Todonyang, across the length and breadth of our republic. Everybody has been covered in terms of the geographical spread of the donation.
In the meantime, Kajiado County has manufactured at least 350 isolation beds to handle the COVID-19 cases that are currently on the rise. The beds are being manufactured by youths who had been trained by the county government in technical courses in an earlier youth empowerment program that included welding. The beds will be distributed to 5 hospitals set aside for COVID-19 response.
Kama serikali ya county tutakuwa na ICUs 4, moja ya Ngong, ingine Kitengela, ingine Kajiado na ingine Loitoktok, ambazo tayari tuko na vitanda na facilities, ventilators ya kusupport tuko nazo 20 kama serikali ya county. Niwahakikishie wa Kenya na watu wa Kajiado kwamba kama serikali ya county tunaweka matayarisho na mikakati ya kuhakikisha kwamba wale wanaathirika wako na mahali pa kukimbilia.
The developments coming as Bomet's Governor Hilary Barchok said the county has traced 178 people who came in contact with the 8 COVID-19 positive cases. Barchok noted that 6 out of the 8 cases are healthcare workers and are currently isolated at Longisa County Referral Hospital.
Let us not panic. We are in control despite these rising numbers. Let us comply with all the guidelines that we have been given by the Ministry of Health, the social distancing, the wearing of masks in public places, washing of hands for sanitization. Let us comply with those guidelines.
And Kilifi County residents have received a timely boost of bumper maize harvest that are set to cushion them from the negative economic effects of a 3-month lockdown due to the coronavirus pandemic. This follows a free certified seeds distribution program by the county government that saw 52 tons of maize seedlings issued to over 10,000 farmers in early April this year.
What we are doing is we are introducing cost composite, which was lost long ago, so that now the poor farmers can plant that, and if there is a bumper harvest, they can go in and they select very good heads, and they can plant for the 3 seasons before they go back to the agrovets to buy. I know the agrovets don't like that, but our purpose is to make sure the farmers plant material which is improved.
Elsewhere, the National Nurses Association of Kenya has raised concern over the rising numbers of COVID-19 cases among nurses and other healthcare workers across the country. The situation prompting calls from the association for both the national and county governments to provide healthcare workers with adequate personal protective equipment while building their capacity to handle the disease, among a raft of other issues. Meanwhile, the Kiambu Bar Owners Association says the directive by President Uhuru Kenyatta barring restaurants and eateries from selling alcoholic beverages could have far-reaching implications.
Kama wafanyabiashara wote ni wababa mmoja wa taifa la Kenya, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Hakuna wakati unaweza sema watoto 9 waende wakacheze lakini huu mmoja ufugie ndani. Hiyo utakuwa haufanyi haki kwa watoto wako. Sisi kama wafanyi biashara yetu ya bar peke yake ndio imefungwa. Zile biashara zingine zinaendelea.
Finally, a Form 1 student from Mwingi has touched the hearts of many after using her pocket money to buy and donate sanitary towels to other needy girls from Mwingi town. Tracy Kanini, a Form 1 student at Alliance Girls High School, donated sanitary towels to over 40 needy girls who reside within the town.
Niliona habari kwa mtandao na pia kwa televisheni, na ndio nikaona wanafunzi wenzangu wanasumbuka, na nilikuwa na pesa kidogo nilikuwa nimebakisha, ndio nikaona nitumie kuwasaidia.
Beatrice Getonyingetich, Channel 1 News.
Now, still focusing on stories that are making headlines from, the counties, is that our reporter based in Mombasa, Mwadiga, prepared a report just detailing the reactions of area residents after the presidential directive that banned the sale of alcoholic drinks and beverages in eateries and restaurants across the country. Here's a report from Mombasa.
The coastal town of Mombasa is synonymous with merriment, with evenings often characterized by loud music as revelers gulp their favorite drinks. The nationwide curfew and the subsequent directive by President Kenyatta banning the sale of alcoholic beverages in eateries and restaurants, as well as a threat on bars operating in breach of COVID-19 containment measures that they risk losing their licenses, rattling the status quo. The joints now left lifeless as people rush home to beat the curfew, with the president's directive reducing others to retailers of soft drinks. Mombasa Bar Owners, Hotels and Lodgings Association says the latest directive has left them with limited options.
Waite all stakeholders wa bar, watengeneza komiti kama ile ya kanisa, wakuje na regulations zile zitaisaidia bar waendelee na biashara zao. Katiba ile tunajua inasimamia mamlaka.
The association saying those who have been employed by the industry have been forced to find alternative means to make a living.
Tunaikuta na uzito mwingi kulipokea asilimia kubwa agizo la rais kwamba baa zifungwe, huku sisi tukiwa kama wafanyikazi wa biashara zile, sisi tuna mikopo katika benki ambazo tuliwekeza nazo biashara zile zetu za baa. Na kwa hakika sisi wengine wanaishi ama kufanya biashara zao kwa nyumba ya kukodi ama kukodisha. Biashara ambayo tunajua ni biashara hii ya mvinyo. Ukisema lifungwe ni sawa na kusema mtu afe. Lakini vile vile sisi ni binadamu, tunastahili kuwa tuna njia mbadala ya kupata lishe.
And while they acknowledge that the threat posed by coronavirus remains real, the group wants more consultations to address emerging concerns. The government's directive to close all bars in the Republic indefinitely came as a rude shock to bar owners and their staffs. As you can see right behind me, the shelves are empty. There's no alcohol to sell. But they are hoping after the pandemic, businesses will pick up. Reporting for Channel 1 News from Mombasa County, I'm Michael Mondiga.
There, let's move to something a bit different. This is just the farewell messages that trickled in following the death of former Tanzanian president, where Uhuru team to Mkapa burial returns mid-air, just saying that thousands of Tanzanians gathered yesterday to say a final goodbye to the country's third president, that is Benjamin Mkapa, during a requiem mass at Uhuru Stadium in Temeke district, that is in Dar. But as the event went on, the president President Uhuru Kenyatta's delegation to the function ahead of their burial was forced to return mid-air due to what was termed as bad weather. Now, the Senate Majority Leader, that is Samuel Pogisho, had been sent to deliver the President's message of condolence to the third President of Tanzania, as well as the family and the entire nation of Tanzania. But the Tanzanian government officials announced during the farewell ceremony that the Kenyan delegation could not attend the event. Officials saying that the jet carrying the Kenyan delegation was forced to fly back, just saying that it was because of bad weather. And still on those farewell messages, the Wiper leader, that is Musyoka, described the ex-Tanzanian leader as a champion of regional peace, as well as also just Martha Karua describing him as a man of simplicity in private and public, as saying that this simple life set him apart. And she continued to say that an unassuming, amiable and well-grounded former Tanzanian president, Benjamin Mkapa, who died on Friday, he preferred to listen more than he talked. Just continuing to say that notably, he was a man at ease, without the customary display of trappings of power, such as security detail or aides hovering about him. This was a man at ease with himself and his countrymen, saying that again, his simplicity set him apart, and his simplicity was witnessed both in private and in public.
Very well said. Still keeping up with that particular plane mishap where Pogisio failed to attend Mkapa funeral mass. Now, just a brief overview of Benjamin William Mkapa's history is that he was the third president of Tanzania, having taken over from Ali Hassan Mwinyi in 1995, and Mwinyi succeeded first President Julius Nyerere, who stepped down in 1985. Mkapa was succeeded by Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete, who in turn left the president to join John Magufuli in 2015. Mkapa had served as a minister and top government official before becoming a president. Here are the details in regard to that particular plane mishap that saw that the Kenyan delegation failed to attend that particular requiem mass, as prepared by our reporter Emily K. Bade.
Tanzania's President John Magufuli earlier on Tuesday paid his tributes to his predecessor Benjamin Mkapa at the memorial service held at the Uhuru Stadium. Thousands of people in the commercial capital, Dar es Salaam, paid their last respect to the president on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday before the deceased body was transported to his home village in Lupaso in Masasi district, Mtwara region, for burial on Wednesday. At Lupaso village, the funeral service is expected to begin in the morning, where all people living around the village will pay their final respect. The burial service will be held at around 2 p.m. to provide an opportunity for people who want to travel from other regions to attend the ceremony. A plane carrying a Kenyan delegation to the funeral of the former Tanzanian president turned back to Nairobi over what the Ministry of Foreign Affairs described as a result of bad weather. Mkapa, who was the Tanzanian president between 1995 and 2005, died at a hospital in Dar es Salaam on Thursday, aged 81 years. For Channel 1 News, I am Emily K. Bade.
Well, and away from that, let's come to the City Hall woes, where City Hall wrangles messier as Elachi roped into Sonko and Badi tough was, just saying that Nairobi CBD turned into a stage of tear gas and running battles as battle for control of City Hall get murkier, continuing to say that the war of words between NMS, DG Badi and Governor Mike Sonko is now exposing a power struggle for the control of the capital and threatens to render the county's leadership dysfunctional and risks paralyzing service delivery. Things have become murkier as Nairobi County Assembly has been into the field. Pro-Sonko MCAs have mooted a plot to impeach the speaker, that is Elachi. This is what they are accusing her abuse of office, while another group want to revive the impeachment motion against the governor for his continued onslaught on the NMS and Elachi. Now, this trouble began after Nairobi Governor, that is Mike Sonko, registered his intention to pull out from the deed of transfer agreement entered between the two levels of governing. And this is what was happening yesterday at City Hall. The wrangles just getting messier as Elachi roped into Sonko and Badi tough wars.
Now, still keeping up with that, we have a detailed report prepared by Sefin Auma Acheng, who prepared that particular report, just detailing what erupted at the County Assembly of Nairobi. This also made headlines on social media, with many Kenyans coming out to condemn the act. And even further, they went on to log in and do some kind of research to ascertain who exactly those police officers, or rather armed men in uniform, were. Here is the report.
It was yet another dramatic turn of events at the Nairobi County Assembly. The corridors were filled with tear gas as a section of members of the County Assembly who attempted to gain entry to serve the Nairobi County Assembly Speaker Beatrice Elachi with an impeachment notice engaged in a scuffle with a heavy contingent of police officers who were deployed to restore order. Over 80 MCAs had signed the impeachment notice, accusing Elachi of, among others, abuse of office and divisive leadership. The MCAs also wanted to serve Elachi with a court order suspending the appointment of Edward Gishana as the clerk of the assembly after the Employment and Labor Relations Court suspended his gazettement on Tuesday.
Tuko na grounds kama 6 ambazo tumepata. Ground ya kwanza ni illegal appointment ya clerk ambaye amepatia kazi juzi. Pili, ana abuse ofisi yake kama speaker. Tatu, she's really frustrating and victimizing MCAs, something that majority of the MCAs will not allow.
The MCAs accusing the police of what they term as use of excessive force in preventing them from accessing the speaker's office. The Independent Policing Oversight Authority has already contacted some of the people who were present during the chaos in a preliminary inquiry that seeks to establish the role played by police officers who were deployed at the premise during the fracas, in which at least one case of injury to a member of the County Assembly was reported. A section of women leaders present during the scuffle, joined by Public Service, Youth and Gender Chief Administrative Secretary Rachel Shebesh, later recorded a statement at the Central Police Station.
He wanted to hit my face, and then I tried to block. That's when he hit my hand. And then 3 others joined him. They dragged me down, and they started beating me from down. And I was all alone with no one else there, and there were 4 male policemen. And I was begging them to stop. They couldn't stop.
I have come here because I am a government minister. And I have been put in my position by the president for many other reasons, including protecting women. It's hard for me to see that I want to protect women against a police force that for me is very sad. But I am begging and I am urging, Elachi, my sister, stop it. Stop. Politics is about dialogue. Nobody has ever used force in politics and won. And even if you win, because you've used force and police, you will never be able to execute your mandate.
This is the second time Speaker Elachi is facing an impeachment. She had been impeached in September 2018 before being reinstated in October 2019. Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko's spokesperson Ben Mulwa has urged Elachi and her allies to desist from blaming the governor for her woes.
It is ridiculous, it is lazy, and it is obnoxious for a large event to try to insinuate that Governor Sonko is involved in what she is going through in whatsoever way. For example, I heard on Sunday MCS complaining that the Speaker unprocedurally appointed a clerk into the county assembly. What does Governor Sonko has to do with that illegality?
For Channel 1 News, I'm Safin Aching Oma.
Quite unfortunate there, and just quoting what Madam Rachel Shebesh has said, politics is about dialogue. But as we say here, is that a day in politics is quite a long time. And now focusing on succession politics, Mudavadi overstayed term as ANC leader, says registrar. Now the current office holder's terms were to expire on June 15th. And as it is, according to the registrar of parties, says political parties, says that he has overstayed. Now, the registrar of political parties further says he has declined to extend his 5-year stay, pending corrections to the party's quest to extend his term until the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, in an effort to comply with its constitution, the party resolved to push elections until after the pandemic, and it communicated the decision to the registrar of political parties, Nderito. However, yesterday Nderito told the Star and other media houses that her office had declined the ANC proposal. Now, our reporter Eric Biegon, who also serves as a senior editor here, prepared a detailed report to just put into perspective what then this means for succession politics come 22. What options does ANC leader there, Musalia Mudavadi, have, given that his proposal, or rather his party's proposals, to extend his tenure for another 5 years until at least the COVID-19 pandemic is over, was declined. Here is the following report by Eric Biegon.
The 2022 succession battle has attracted a number of key political figures in the country. Amani leader Musalia Mudavadi has gone on record indicating that he will make another stab at the presidency once President Uhuru Kenyatta exits the stage. And even though the elections are 2 years away, his party's National Governing Council has gone ahead and endorsed the former Deputy Prime Minister as its sole candidate in the next general election.
Resolution 6, that in accordance with Article 19.11 of the ANC Constitution, which provides that the party leader shall lead the party at all parties' negotiations so as to form a democratic government, and the NEC having duly and lawfully endorsed Honorable Musalia Mudavadi as the party's presidential candidate in the 2022 general election, the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi's endorsement be and is hereby ratified by NGC.
The NGC, which briefly convened on Tuesday at the party headquarters in Nairobi, resolved to front Mudavadi's candidature in a move that effectively locks out any other candidate keen on the position.
It is now therefore official that the highest organ of the party that makes a decision of this kind, the National Governing Council, has now endorsed and given His Excellency Musalia Mudavadi the mandate to go out there whenever it is that the elections will be, to begin soliciting for votes and for support from Kenyans as he leads the party towards the year 2022 as the presidential flag bearer. Therefore, there will be no other contenders for the ANC presidential party ticket, because now that is a closed chapter.
More than 60 delegates of ANC National Governing Council unanimously seconded the resolution, ending speculations on whether or not the former vice president will vie for the presidency. In the resolutions read by party lawyer Dr. Alutalala Mukwana, the NGC delegates further empowered Mudavadi to be at liberty to enter into or out of political pacts with other players.
Having considered, debated and concluded that strategic positioning of NC party requires the party leader to seek, identify and reach out to political partners, and NEC having so considered and resolved to empower the party leader, working with NEC to seek, consider negotiate and enter and or leave any coalitions, alliances and cooperations with other parties willing to work with ANC both ahead of or after the 2022 general election. The resolution by NEC be and is hereby ratified by this NGC.
In that regard, the mandate includes getting into coalitions and alliances and getting out of any coalitions and alliances, including any existing coalitions and alliances and any future coalitions and alliances.
This undertaking, however, appears to place the existence of the National Super Alliance NASA into further jeopardy, with ODM, Wiper, Ford Kenya and now ANC reading from different scripts. If Mudavadi goes ahead and vies for the country's top seat, it will be his second bid after a first attempt in 2013. Eric Biegon reporting for Channel 1 News.
And away from the succession politics there, let's look at what is making news rather on the corridors of justice this Wednesday morning. And police cannot enforce the law by breaking it. That is one header that we're having this morning, just saying that not a day goes by without reports of police brutality. It is as if police officers have the mandate to operate outside the ambit of the law and get away with it, from abductions, extrajudicial killings and unnecessary harassment of civilians. Police officers have caused despondency in many parts of this country. It is very inconceivable that the very people charged with enforcing the law as it's supposed to be, driving criminals out of society, have chosen to act like criminals themselves. In Kocholo village, that is in Elgeyo Marakwet, residents claim that police officers team up with assistant chiefs to terrorize them. Often, the police officers raid people's houses at night and beat them up on a trumped-up charges. That is what residents of Elgeyo Marakwet just saying there. But then again, there's also an interesting bite here that it just says, where an individual has broken the law, the right thing to do is to arrest the culprit. So instead of their beatings, the abduction, these extrajudicial killings that we are reading and hearing about, the right thing to do is actually to arrest the culprit instead of doing all of these things. And on the sidebar, of the same paper, there's also one interesting story still on the courts. Ghostbusters family lose case. This is in Mombasa County, where a court has barred the family of the late famous Ghostbuster. This is Wache Elias Kajiwe from visiting his grave, saying he was buried on someone else's piece of land. Now, this Kajiwe died in a very mythical died as a mythical figure in 1993 after decades as a feared exorcist and a bastard. Now, the family had gone to court saying that the land in which he was buried was actually their own, but someone else had taken it. But on the flip side now, the children ended up losing the case, and this is after Justice Silas Munyao declared that Mombasa tycoon, who had actually bought the land previously, the property belonged to him and not to the family. So this ended up making the children and the entire family lose that particular case.
Now, still keeping up with stories from the corridors of justice is that reduced arrest of petty offenders, police urged. Now, this comes at a time when, this is just what the police should pay attention to the new prosecution guidelines developed by the DPP to avoid frivolous arrests and reduce the high number of petty offenders in remand. This is according to Interior CS Fred Matiang'i. Now, a man who fled with kids to produce them in court. Now, the Children's Court has ordered the estranged husband of a Rwandan woman who allegedly eloped with their maid and children to produce them in court tomorrow. This is a story that made headlines on social media over the last couple of days. Now, cops have been given 30 days to uncover the murder of a Kilimani woman. 3 suspects linked to the murder of a woman found dead outside the Kilimani flat will report to the area police station for 30 days as investigations proceed. Now, despite Rock's judiciary over job interviews, now the Judiciary Service Commission, the employer of the judiciary staff, is said to be inviting applicants shortlisted for the 336 internal vacancies. Now, reports is that the GSC has sent out SMSs and mail letters to applicants for interviews that has triggered an uproar among the staff. More details in regard to stories that are making headlines from the corridors of justice. Here is our Scales of Justice report.
Dennis Ndubi Maude was arrested in Busia County on the 5th of July for his alleged role in the disappearance of Joshua Gishogi Mwangi and the murder of Ben Maxwell Mwangi. The accused is alleged to have been in contact with the two men before their disappearance. On the 20th of February, Ben's body was discovered at City Mortuary by his family, and upon inquiry, they learned the body was collected at Ngombe Forest along Kamandura Maimahi Road. The whereabouts of Joshua Gishoki remain unknown, with the defendant's legal team pleading to have their client released on bail. Milimani Senior Principal Magistrate Sinkiyan Tobiko directed that the accused be held in custody and presented in court on Wednesday for plea taking. For Scales of Justice Channel 1 News, I'm Sarafina Robi.
All right, and away from the corridors of justice, let's look at stories making headlines this morning when it comes to the counties. Starting with the Kisumu County there, just on the side, on the side of the paper, again at the bottom end, that is Kisumu County, where Joyce Laboso Memorial is set to happen today. And the family of the late Bomet governor, that is Joyce Laboso, will today hold a memorial service at her Koru home. Laboso died of cancer at the Nairobi Hospital on July 29th. That was last year, so it's been a year since her death, and her remains interred at her matrimonial home. And also it has been established that the preparations had been concluded ahead of today's memorial, and only close relatives and a few invited dignitaries will be able to attend these functions. And the reason as to why this will be happening is just to really adhere and to the guidelines of the Ministry of Health guidelines of COVID-19 safety protocols, and this is why only a few relatives and a few other dignitaries will be able to attend this function, which is set to happen today. Coming to Nyandarua County, and Keen seeks help to retrieve body. That is one caption we're having there when it comes to Nyandarua County, where a family in Nyahururu town is seeking assistance, and this is to retrieve the body of a girl who drowned at the Thompson Falls 2 days ago. And this is Miss Jemima, who was taking photos on Sunday with her relatives when she slipped and fell into the waters. And according to the brother, that is Zablon, saying that they were standing actually on a stone when she accidentally slipped and drowned. And so the Nyahururu Sub-County Police Commander said that the rescue mission was hampered by strong water flow, but now the family is really calling on the Sub-County Chief to at least aid in finding the ones that drowned while they were taking pictures in Nyahururu County.
Now, focusing on stories that are making headlines in the counties as prepared by reporter Farah, is that one person indeed perished while 5 others are nursing life-threatening injuries in the wake of fresh ethnic clashes at Olpsimuru area of Narok County. Now, authorities in the county have linked the latest round of skirmishes to cattle rustlings. Details of this and other stories are making headlines in the counties.
One person was pierced by an arrow to death following altercations between communities in the volatile Olpsimuru area of Narok late Monday. The renewed clashes are said to have been fueled by an attack where one community lost 5 herds of cattle to the rival community, leading to a retaliation and further escalation of the clashes. Narok County Commissioner Samuel Kimiti has delivered a ceasefire ultimatum, warning that those who will not abide will be met by the full force of law.
Sababu ukiwa ulipigwa mchale ukiwa kwa msitu wa serikali, sasa hata wewe ni mhalifu. Unajipeleka kwa hatari kwa sababu haustahili kuwa kwa msitu wa serikali.
In the meantime, transport has been paralyzed in a section after heavy rains cut off Marigat-Chemolingot Highway. North Rift Regional Director Engineer Franklin Kipietor Kibuko said efforts are ongoing to ensure that there is an alternative route for use by motorists.
Today we have
identified a detour, a route that we want to open up within a very short time, so that we ensure if the waters continue to rise, we should be able to ensure continuous flow of traffic.
This coming as hundreds of passengers were left stranded at the Migori police station as police impounded tens of passenger service vehicles en route to Nairobi. In the crackdown, the affected vehicles were found to have not complied with the government's COVID-19 public health containment measures.
Ambayo wako standard mpaka saa hii na hatuna jinsi tutafanya, wengine wana demand pesa yao tunawarudishia, na hiyo ni loss kwa company for the whole day.
In the meantime, the management of Muhoroni Sugar Company was put on the spot for allegedly allowing a private miller to develop and use its sugarcane plantations under the Miwani nuclei. Sugarcane farmers and workers of Muhoroni Sugar Company claim that Miwani sugarcane plantations, which fall directly under the Muhoroni factory, have been unprocedurally surrendered to Kibos Sugar Factory, which has been developing the cane estates as well as harvesting and crushing cane on behalf of Muhoroni.
The minister has given us an opportunity. We gave our presentations. We want the leasing process to continue as it is. And we want the Minister Munya to act as the Minister of Government. We don't want further consultations. That is our statement for today. And the farmers, we are the leadership. We are here. We are waiting for the process to start. We want to deliver cane to a mill which is going to operate to capacity.
Finally, police in Kakamega County have launched investigations into the mysterious death of a man whose lifeless body was discovered at his house by family members. The family of 40-year-old Jackson Adriano say their kin was in good health when he retired for bed and were taken aback when they found him dead in the morning.
Kwa na neno kijana ule tuko karibu sana na yeye, angekuwa na jambo libaya angenieleza mama niko ABCD. Si kijana wa kujificha, hapana. Kama kitu imemdhuru ananiambia tu mama ni hivi na hivi na hivi na hivi. Lakini kwa mshangao, nimeshangaa sana kumpata. Njora ameanguka chini, amelala na amefariki, mpaka nimeshangaa sijui ni nini.
Yusuf Farah, Channel 1 News.
A detailed report by Yusuf Farah on what is making headlines in the counties. It brings us to the first break. We take a short break, but in return, we focus on stories that are making headlines, including in the sector of business as well as sports. Do keep it right here.
On the next episode of Corner.
I thought you were preparing to fight me over our money.
You are not yourself right now.
He stole my idea, the gym's lifeline. That man is so arrogant, he pretended not to know what that was about.
Let me come in as an investor. Think about it.
You tell me what is going on. Start talking.
Ama Bobo anataka vita na mimi, I will give him a fight. The only coward in this room is you.
Do you not respect your coach? Why should he spend all day waiting for you? Not good enough.
Sijaribu tena kumfanyia hivyo. Manake utauona upande wangu mwingine ambao hautaupenda.
It would be so great had my father loved you as much as the emperor loves Queen Dharma.
So I have sent a soldier to Champa Nagari to bring that man here.
Great Emperor Chandragupta's son, Emperor Bindusar, had married a girl of the Brahmin caste, whose name is...
On the next episode of
Wise men say on
wafanyune kama ndege wa angani, hawalimi na washibi, na wanakula na wanakunywa.
Washa tutoke hapa nje, tupigwe na miale ya jua, alafu tuingie kwa nyumba tukule miujiza. Nimekujia rent.
Ai.
Babe, sumsot tu aende.
Unajua Jobu, hujui kuishi na watu hata kidogo. Mwezi wa kwanza na umezidi kulipa nyumba. Jobu, how?
Mimi na wewe tunaweza saidiana.
Tunaweza kusaidiana. Acha nikuletee juice. Pacha.
Good morning once again. If you're tuning in, this is KBC Channel 1 and I'm Regina Manyara. This is Good Morning Kenya. Now we want to focus on stories that are making headlines in the business world.
Business, the main caption when it comes to business on the Standard this morning, big shots. Corporates vanish with 79 billion from failed banks. That is the main header this morning, just saying that an unknown number of borrowers, including big corporates and politicians, all collapsed banks, 79 billion in unpaid loans. Now, the new CBK data actually shows this, and this even as depositors of the condemned banks continue to wait for their cash. CBK's statistical bulletin for 2019 indicates that the 17 failed banks still owed depositors close to 13.4 billion by the end of 2018, with some of the money going as far back as the early 1990s, when the country witnessed a massive bank failures. That is what new CBK data is just showing us, that the government owned the condemned lenders another 776 million in T-bills and bonds. Now again to another story at the bottom end of the paper, on the side by the bottom end of the paper, Pact could offer Africa 48 trillion shillings to boost. That is the caption, just saying that a new World Bank study has tipped the African continental free trade area to boost African economies by as much as 4.6 trillion Kenyan shillings. The global lender said if implemented fully, the trade pact also has the potential of speeding up wage growth for women and lift 30 million people out of extreme poverty by 2035. Now, this is especially crucial due to the economic damage caused by COVID-19 pandemic. And again, just another story there of how different sectors are coming up to assist countries, individuals, governments to continue dealing with the effects of COVID-19. At least every day we don't miss a story of such.
Now, still keeping up with matters of business and just focusing on the corporate scene, is that Safaricom eyes 1 million people with higher purchase of 4G phones there. Is that the Safaricom now is targeting to increase the number of customers using its 4G network by facilitating the purchase of 4G-ready services. And under the Lipa Mdogo Mdogo partnership with Google, customers are now able to purchase a 4G Android handset through pay-as-you-use on a daily or weekly basis as little as 20 shillings. Now, still focusing on matters, stories, matters corporate, is that Equity scooped the Best Bank Award feat. Now, the listed regional lender Equity lifted the Best Bank and Excellence in Leadership in Africa awards at this year's Euromoney Awards for Excellence. How about to get an overview of the corporate scene? A report that I prepared yesterday, just detailing what is making headlines within the corporate scene.
Controlling the largest market share of Kenya's telco sector, Safaricom is leveraging on technological advancement to grow its portfolio amid COVID-19 disruptions that have eaten into subscribers' earnings. with a newly launched innovative device financing project enabled by Android dubbed Lipa Mdogo Mdogo, customers can now access a brand new 4G-enabled smartphone by paying as low as 20 shillings daily for the devices. In a statement to Newsroom, Safaricom CEO Peter Ndegwa says everyone is going through tough economic times. This product comes as a testament of a commitment to a purpose of transforming lives. Under the initiative, qualifying customers can access the internet through the new Ndray Pro, a 4G Android smartphone. And Equity has scooped 3 top awards at this year's Euromoney Awards for Excellence. The bank has been awarded Best Bank in Africa, Excellence in Leadership in Africa, and for the second time in a row, Africa's Best Digital Bank. Euromoney in the statement noted that under the stewardship of Chief Executive Dr. James Mwangi, the group has come a long way from a traditional brick and mortar institution. After 2 years of extensive investment in digital technology, it now better reflects the changing needs and behavior of its customer base. This year, Euromoney introduced the Excellence in Leadership Award category that recognized the efforts made by banks in responding to COVID-19 pandemic for its employees, clients, owners of businesses, societies, and economies. Finally, the Kenya Bureau of Standards has suspended 3 companies from manufacturing and importing of face masks. The 3 companies, Wonders General Supplies Limited, which makes Wonders, Arax Mills Limited, which makes Arax, and Hela Intimate EPZ have been instructed to discontinue manufacturing of offering for sale the affected brands of face masks. The manufacturers are required to recall all the substandard masks from the market and institute corrective actions whose effectiveness shall be confirmed by KEBS before the suspension of the standardization mark permits is lifted. The manufacturers are required to recall all the substandard masks from the market and institute corrective actions whose effectiveness shall be confirmed by KEBS before the suspension of the standardization mark permits is lifted. KEBS has also further developed 3 standards to guide the manufacture of face masks to help fight COVID-19 pandemic.
And still keeping up with business, let's look at a different story now. Kenya Railways rehabilitates the network, saying that Kenya Railways is rehabilitating its Nairobi commuter rail network. The firm has already announced that the 165-kilometer rehabilitation, which started on Monday, will take 1 month before it actually is completed. This work, the works is now currently in progress, including modernization of Nairobi Central Station, and as a result, the corporation now wishes to inform its passengers that the platform 1 and 2 at the station will not be accessible for a period of 1 month. So there is a report from Kenya Railway Network just saying that there's a rehabilitation process taking place of platform 1 and 2, and for those that use those specific areas in a period of 1 month, it will be inaccessible at least until this process comes to a close. Now, to another different story. Firms cut hiring as virus eats revenue. That is the caption there, just saying that as companies now continue to suffer damaging effects of COVID-19, jobs advertised have now tanked by 58% since the first case was announced in March, and this is now according to a recent report by recruitment firm Brighter Monday. But while some sectors were almost completely decimated by the virus, others reaped off the misfortune, seeing their profits increase significantly, just showing us that yes, as many firms were losing and many people were losing jobs, there were some that were increasing in terms of profit significantly, and that report by recruitment firm shows that. But aside from that, building and architecture was cited as the biggest losers, with the report putting the reduction of activity in the sector at an alarming 75%. So among the biggest losers were those in the building and the architectural business.
Still focusing on matters business is that Ugandan deadline shifts render 2 billion shillings Kisumu oil jetty idle. Now the facility is unable to operate as NEBA is yet to complete its side of the project. The 2 billion Kisumu oil jetty will remain idle until later in 2021, extending the long wait of the utilization of the facility that was completed in February 2018. Now, according to Mr. Ngoge, who was responding to the status of the controversial jetty project, is that the Kisumu jetty has been delayed by the delay in completion of complementary facilities in Uganda. Now, the timing of the jetty development was pegged on the construction of a jetty, vessels, and receiving depot in Uganda by a private investor, that is Mahathati Infra, and it was estimated that the works would be completed by November 2020, and now operations would commence in January 2021. However, this has been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. The domino effect of COVID-19 continues being felt in different parts of, the business sector. Now, the future also of the Kenya's largest mining company, Base Titanium, a report that has been detailed by reporter O'Brien Kimani, hangs in the balance due to the depleting minerals and delays in approving new mines. Now, the company says the resources at the Kwale South Duno will run out in 2 years' time, while the government is yet to extend the boundary to incorporate some additional mineral resources. Here's a detailed report.
For the last 7 years, Base Titanium has been mining titanium in Kwale County with an investment portfolio of more than 30 billion shillings in mining infrastructure. Last year, the company paid royalties to the Kenyan government amounting to 2.5 billion shillings after earnings rose by 4.9 billion shillings in the year ended June 2019. However, the future of these investments is now in limbo. The company is facing backlash from local communities in its mining base of Kwale County, where local residents have accused the Australian firm of exploiting the region. Base Titanium holds 2 prospecting licenses that covers an area of more than 80 square kilometers, according to the company's books, and the license is valid until May 2021. The firm says it will exhaust the minerals in the current location by mid-2023, subject to an extension of its mining area beyond the Kwale South dunes. Base Titanium's External Affairs General Manager Simon Wall says the mining tenure arrangements to extend the Kwale Special Mining Lease are progressing with the State Department of Mining. The company, which is a subsidiary of the Australian mining giant Base Resources Limited, says it does not expect earnings to drop significantly because of the coronavirus this year due to good prices of rutile, ilmenite and zircon on the international market.
Still focusing on business, and Tusk is in dire need of 2 billion Kenyan shillings, where the troubled retail chain Tusk supermarkets require an immediate capital injection of 2 billion to stay afloat. Now, in a recent meeting, Tusk's owners were told that the retail chain's current financial position may not support the business for long ahead of an expected deal with the strategic investors. But in addition to that, at least 7 shareholders agreed to sell off majority stakes to save the business, that is the Tusk's retail business. And these shareholders include Diamond Trust Bank, has agreed to extend Tusk's banking pending negotiations for investors' capital injection. And also, landlords and staff have agreed to support the deal with the strategic investors. So at least this is some of the shareholders, part of the shareholders that have agreed to sell off majority stakes to serve the Tusk's retail business.
Now, moving away from matters, retail, we focus on, stories of animal husbandry and crossing over all the way to West Pokot County, where it has kicked off a sheep and goat vaccination exercise in a bid to eradicate PPR disease that has affected the income of livestock keepers in the region. Now, the exercise, which targets at least 90,000 livestock, is expected to enhance the quality of milk and meat from the county and enhance food security efforts. Ronaldo Willie has the details.
Despite being a pastoral county, West Pokot still ranks lower when it comes to annual meat production, according to data from the Kenya Markets Trust. In 2017, the county slaughtered 3,019 livestock, comprising cattle, goats, and sheep, out of 2.5 million livestock slaughtered during the period. The lower production has been attributed to, among other factors, the pest Dopeti ruminants disease that was was first reported in the county in 2007.
PPR inatakana kuangamizwa by the year 2032. Na sisi kama kaunti ya West Pokot tumeanza mapema, tunafikiria kwamba labda tuweze kuiangamiza PPR by 2030.
In a bid to eradicate the disease, the county has kicked off the vaccination program in North Pokot Ward, targeting 90,000 goats and sheep. County Executive Member for Livestock and Pastoral Economy, Geoffrey Lipale, said the exercise seeks to make the region disease-free and enhance quality of meat and milk to boost income for keepers, thereby cutting reliance on food aid.
Kwa mwezi mmoja uliopita, tumeweza kuchanja mbuzi 1,102, 102,000 juu ya PPR, na tumeshirikiana na stakeholders mbalimbali.
Since PPR disease outbreak was reported in West Pokot County, more than 30,000 livestock are estimated to have been lost. Livestock keepers have been urged to avail their herds for vaccination.
Kwa hivyo sasa hizi tunapokuja kuchanja mbuzi, we have already lost over 30,000 of goats in this county. Ni kwa sababu tu katika ile period ya COVID-19. Kwa hivyo pia watu wameumia kwa sababu ile masharti ambayo tulipewa na serikali.
The program is additionally tipped to reduce inter-community conflicts, which has catalyzed the spread of PPR disease.
In the headlines this morning, where we have been highlighting the stories that have made headlines in the last 24 hours. Just a recap is that, senators yesterday failed to reach a consensus in regard to the revenue sharing proposed formula there, and this meeting that led to the the adjournment of that particular sitting all the way to next week on Tuesday. Some proponents of that particular revenue say it's the high time that we focus on counties that generate more income, that the issue of population should take precedence over land mass. We'll see which direction this particular debate takes at this time. And if you can quote there, Israel Odinga, who said that this particular debate has taken a dangerous undertone instead of being a level-headed debate on the nation's development trajectory. That's the former premier there, Raila Odinga, sentiments in regard to that particular debate. Further on, in as far as the COVID-19 situation is concerned in the country, is that drug trials are set to begin. But at the same time, the Ministry of Health has warned that the city, Nairobi City, might be overwhelmed, and it is considering to have patients, taken, or rather seeking these medical services within the counties, because some counties have the requisite capacity. That and so much more has made headlines in the last 24 hours. We'll be keeping tabs on even what developments within the corridors of justice. Follow up subsequent bulletins, but for now, we take a short break and look at what is happening on our major roads just a few minutes past 8 a.m. I'm Regina Manyara. I wish you a great day ahead.
At exactly 12 minutes past 8 a.m., time for our fast traffic link this morning. We look at Jogorod as how I had promised you earlier. And again, this is one of those roads that branches off from the latest highway, that is Outer Ring, as you head over to the city center. Quite a number of roads branches off from this main highway, but we just look at Jogorod this morning, and I can tell you for sure traffic really beginning to build up exactly just as you leave the Outer Ring highway heading over to the city center, and specifically on the lane that is heading to the CBD, which is very usual. This is how we'd expect this specific lanes to look like actually on any other road, given the fact that quite a number of activities as you head over to the CBD, and it is no different in this specific one. Traffic, like I mentioned, beginning to build up there, but in as much as, yes, traffic is beginning to build up, quite a cocktail of colors this morning, from orange, red, maroon, indicating that in some parts traffic beginning to slightly build up, in some others just at a standstill, not moving at all, while in other areas moving at a pretty pretty slow pace, and this is how Jogoo Road is looking like this morning. But I had told you earlier that there's no really quite a number of activities happening on this specific road like how it is on some other roads such as Ngong Road, where there's really quite a number of activities happening there, and this activity is just in regards to reconstruction of that road, making it a dual carriage road where the third phase is still ongoing, as well as the installation of bridges that is just slated to begin on some major parts of that specific road. But on this one, there's quite no activities happening, but even at that, traffic really building up, and especially on that lane that is heading over to the city center. But then again, in as much as yes, there's no major kind of activities that is happening that probably could lead to traffic, but it's very important for me to mention that also one of the reasons as to why there's normally heavy traffic, especially on this specific route as you head over to the city center in the early morning hour as well as evening rush hour, is because of the number of estates. Jogoo Road has quite a number of estates, numerous of them, and even as of now, traffic is not changing at all, still as how it was the first couple of minutes when we're beginning to look at how this road was looking or doing in terms of traffic, really building up, especially on that lane heading to the city center. On the other one, so the one that is leaving Landis Road, as you branch over through the roundabout, heading over to the estates that are enjoined to Jogoo Road as you head over to Outer Ring Road. On that specific one, there's barely any traffic gridlock there, but in areas where there's a bit of traffic, at least it is quite manageable. So in terms of alternative routes on this specific one, is just as you branch off inside the estates there, estates of Shauri Moyo, as you head over to the city center, there's no like one main route that we can call an alternative route, except just branching off to some other minor roads as you use inside the estates along Jogoo Road as you head over to the city center. And one of them is just before you get to the roundabout, the Jogoo Landis roundabout. Before you get there, one of the alternative routes you can use is this one along Bondo Street, just as you head over to Shauri Moyo Estate, connecting there as you head over to the city center. But even at that, this road still looks so bad because the traffic gridlock there are quite unbearable. So really Jogoo Road this morning, heavy traffic, but something has changed this very minute, and this is traffic before you get to the roundabout. It was quite unbearable in the first couple of minutes, and that is why we were seeing the red and the maroon there. But as of now, that has changed, and at least it is moving at a fast pace, if I may say. So yes, traffic has just begun to slightly build up there, but in as much as yes, that is happening, but looks like it's quite manageable. And this is again only specifically on the lane that is heading to the CBD. On the other one, there's nothing happening in terms of traffic, just as you slightly branch off from the roundabout, but traffic begins to build up next to that Bondo Street, which I was telling you that could be one of those good alternative routes. So in as much as actually that was happening again, it has just changed. But remember also, I keep mentioning to you that traffic changes every single minute, and this is why this has also just changed right now. It was a bit of an orange there, a bit of traffic beginning to slightly build up, but as of now, that has totally changed, and now it is a smooth sailing. So what this ultimately means is that if you are coming from a city center, if you are coming from areas such as Lusaka Road as well, all the way from City Stadia, using this roundabout, the stadium roundabout, as you head over to Jogoo Road, this is clearly the best time for you to do that. That is only if you're coming from Nairobi CBD, heading over to the estate, because there's no traffic actually past the roundabout, pretty moving at a clearly fast pace, just traffic beginning to slightly build up past the Bondo Street as you head over to Jogoo Road. But let's look at this roundabout before we continue looking at how the road is doing in terms of traffic, and this is the City Stadia roundabout. Traffic also not looking so bad around this roundabout, because oftentimes, especially on such major roundabouts such as this one, would be expecting to see heavy traffic gridlock. But also, one thing and one interesting thing about the City Stadia roundabout, unlike other roundabouts where we'll be seeing major roads branching off from a specific roundabout, it is different from the city stadium, because the road that just branches off from this roundabout is Lusaka Road. As you head over to Mombasa Road, there's Jogoo Road, which is our focus this morning, as well as Landis Road as you head over to the city center. So that means there's no road on the other side. So and clearly this is just why you will see traffic around the roundabout, specifically as you head over to Jogoo Road, to Lusaka Road, as well as Landis Road. But coming to Lusaka Road again, in terms of traffic, also really building up. And the interesting bit is that this is on both lanes. What this means is that the lanes that is coming all the way from Mombasa Road using Lusaka Road as you head over to the city center through the city stadium roundabout, traffic building up there, as well as also the lane that is leaving Jogoo Road, which is our focus this morning, as you use the roundabout heading to Lusaka Road all the way to Mombasa Road. That is just where traffic is building up. So on both lanes, just before you get to the roundabout, that is where we're really witnessing that gridlock there. But in as much as, yes, there's traffic, at least it is manageable, and that is why this, that orange color indicates. So for me to mention just what the color means is for the benefit of our viewers who might not really understand why there's a cocktail of colors there. But again, look at this. Along Landis Road, as you head over to the city center, the situation has changed again. And just like I keep mentioning to you, it changes every single minute. And this has just changed right now, where there's no traffic at all, just past the roundabout, heading all the way to using Landis Road as you head over to the city center, moving at a clearly fast pace. So again, this means what this means is that if you are coming from Lusaka Road, from Mombasa Road through Lusaka Road all the way to the city center through the roundabout, you'll just have to make do with the traffic before the roundabout. But past that, using Landis Road heading to the city center, then at least it's a clear, smooth sailing for you there. But again, also what this means is that if you are coming from Jogoo Road, still using the city stadium roundabout, using Landis Road heading over to the city center, again, it is also a clear moving for you, but just a slight gridlock along Jogoo Road, especially on that lane that is heading over to the city center. So that is what is happening this morning when it comes to traffic, our focus being on what has been happening along Jogoo Road. So right now, it is at least time for our first conversation of the day. We want to talk about interior decor. That will be our focus this morning, and Brita will be helping us understand more about that, at least interior decor within a budget. So to put that into perspective, I'm joined live by Brita, who will be helping us understand more about that. Brita, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing this morning?
Okay, so we're going to be looking at interior decor, doing it at a budget and understanding what you're supposed to be doing. Planning and using your finances, value for your money. That is basically what we will be talking about.
All right, Brita, you are the CEO of Bees Decor. Tell us a bit about that.
Okay, so Bees Decor Hub is a company that has begun. It's new, I'd say that, but interior design has been something I was doing freelance for a very long time. Like, I knew I had the power to do it. So I just started Bees Decor Hub around 4 months ago. It's picking up well. We are focused on uniqueness. We are focused on affordability. We are focused on style and space, and making every space be directed by the client.
Okay, you started Bees Decor only 4 months ago, so that means it's at least it's more like still a baby there. Was it necessitated by the pandemic that made you to at least think outside the box and begin something that you love?
Yeah, initially I'm a medic, but based on what is happening, I felt like I needed a side hustle and I needed to be more serious because I had so much idle time staying at home. So I decided to just push everything into interior decor as we wait for the country to stabilize. So it's still very young.
It is still very young. And again, just to remind our viewers that I'm speaking to Brita Osoro, an interior designer and also the CEO of Biz Deco Hub. She's talking to us about that specific business matters, again, to do with interior design and interior deco. And this morning, like I told you earlier when we were beginning the show, is that our focus will actually be predominantly on interior design within a budget. So that means if you're a startup, an entrepreneur, and you would love to venture into the interior deco business, interior design business, then this is the conversation for you, because you'll be getting to understand how to exactly do that just within a budget. Now, Brita, coming back to you. So aside from remodeling, repossession, and decorating, spaces, what more do you do as an individual?
Okay, as an individual, we mainly look at making things, designing, drawing them down from scratch and designing them. We look at introducing new things into the market. That is, like, I try to tap creativity around me and use it to create something that is unique. Also, I am trying as much as I can to support Kenyan brands personally. So I look into Kenya before I can look at any other thing. So that is where I stand as Biz Deca Hub. I try as much as possible to make it unique, make it different, give a different vibe and a different understanding into interior design.
Well, I love what you've said, Brita, that you're trying also as much as you can to support at least, our kind of local material, if I may say. Do you feel like, again, that is one problem that comes up with interior designers? We just feel like we want to export and want to try new things and forget that we also have our own stuff that we can use to promote our own stuff as a country. What is your perspective on that?
Okay, my perspective for me to initially decide to maintain using Kenyan brands was because I realized I am a small business starting and I'm also custom making. I'd want the same support, and I know and I have felt the pressure in the market when it comes to Kenya. Now, as an interior design, when you're dealing with a client, it is in your place to advise the client. So as much as these other companies outside the country are making items, we still have companies in the country that are making good items. So as much as an item is original in Germany, it is also original in Kenya because it was made in Kenya. And there are qualities that substances go through. We have KEBS, we have KRA, we have companies that govern the quality of items that are pushed into the market. So when Kenyans push things into the market, it means they really understand what they are pushing into the market. We really need to concentrate on supporting Kenyan brands. We build our country before we build any other country.
Well said, Brita, there. It is important to support our Kenyan brands before we go outside. Now, let's come to our focus this morning when you talk about interior design, is doing it within a budget. Because oftentimes the question that comes up is that I want to begin this business, I want to be an entrepreneur, but I do not have enough capital. So for you when you're beginning it, how was it like for you? What did you need? How did you go about it?
Okay, first I did the market study. You do not rush into a business as much as you understand it. You begin by studying the market, your focus area. So my biggest challenge was finances. Then this corona has really destroyed us financially. But you try as much as possible. You first of all study your market. After you have a good market knowledge, then you begin by understanding what exactly are you doing in interior design. Because in interior design, we have the basic interior, then we have the decorative interior. So you choose which one exactly you need to start with, because you cannot mingle all of them together. So basically, I began with decorative designing because it was more affordable and it was easier to get things in the country at that specific time. I would get fabric for pillowcases, I would get fabric for curtains very easily. So based on the capital that you have and wanting to start this business, you should do a market strategy, understand where you're sourcing your things. Make sure you get the cheapest, make sure you get value for your money. By getting value for your money, it means you need to look at color quality, fabric quality, all those things. And these things need time. And as a beginner, we need patience, we need time, we need encouragement. So these are basically my grounding when I began the business, especially at a very difficult moment. Yeah.
Wow, well said and fair enough. But I really love what you said in terms of identifying your market, which is again is more of a wake-up call for those that want to start businesses, and especially when you talk about how to start and probably the capital to look out for. So exactly what you're saying is that sometimes you don't need to look at the money per se of beginning, but identifying your market. Who are you going to sell this product to? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that is exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
Like, who is my target? Who am I targeting? Am I targeting people who are looking at decorative interiors? Am I targeting people who need the whole overhaul? What is my target? Have a focus. Limit yourself to that focus. The rest will come as growth. When you move from decorative to the whole overhaul of interior design, it will be termed as growth. But we cannot ask you to push yourself into doing the whole interior when you don't have the capability to do it right now. So term every step as growth and start small as you grow.
Start small as you grow. Fair enough, Brita, just telling us it is important, at least for those upcoming entrepreneurs, for those who want to start businesses. Sometimes money is not really quite the issue. Now, Brita, for someone who is into the interior business, interior design, obviously there are this emerging trend. So what do you do, or what are you doing as a person to at least keep up to get knowledge of this emerging trends? What are you doing?
Basically, right now, we have all the time in the world to be in the internet. If you are willing to do a certain business, you should be willing to invest into studying and understanding the business itself. So I usually take a lot of time to look at the revolution of the design world, and that is the trend that is coming. So once I understand the trend, I don't just jump into, I also study the acceptability of the trend in my country. So if it is acceptable in my country, then I should start selling it out. And that is where the uniqueness comes in. So you study first the trend that is coming in, then you had a market strategy, you had your focus, you had your people that you wanted to sell to. So you start by studying how they're accepting this trend first before you can push it out in the market.
So study your market is also what you're saying, and that, given that there's so much time on our hands, at least you are ensuring that you get the knowledge, in terms of interior design, especially as a person, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, 4 months into doing this kind of business, because that's what you told us when you're beginning, how has it been like for you? What has been the greatest challenge doing interior design?
My greatest challenge to start with has been sourcing of items, because with COVID-19, we're not able to move around. So most of my sourcing has to be done through my phone. Secondly, finances, though I don't term that as a challenge, because that is basically what we are focusing on. So in order to get finances, you have to use finances. So it means you work a little harder, look a little harder. So thirdly, my biggest challenge has been, as interior design is getting a focus right now based on the fact that COVID-19 has put a lot of people at home. So people look at their spaces and understand the need something in the space, but there is also the factor about people being limited to what they can do based on what COVID-19 has put people through. So that basically has been my challenge, the fact that I cannot move around, money, and a limitation when it comes to my clients. So that is where we also come in with the budget strategy. You try to make them understand that they can do interior design as much as they don't have the money they dream to be having to start it. So basically those are my challenges.
Okay. Now, saying that at least you have been limited, in terms of movement, and you have largely been using your phone. So in terms of your business, is it online? Do you have a physical store? How does your operations look like?
Okay, I currently have a physical store that I'm working on, but 90% of my business is online. 90% of it is online. We sell online, then we do Zoom calls and choose fabric. Yeah, and I try as much as possible, because it's online, I try as much as possible to keep my trust level between me and the client to be very much okay.
Now, saying that at least, a bigger percentage of your business you're operating online, how is it operating a business online, given the fact that sometimes there's trust issues from clients? How are you doing it as a person?
Okay, you really cannot limit the issue of trust, but you can try as much as possible to assure them that you will deliver what you want. Okay, there is also the element of them seeing work that you have ever done before and understanding that you're someone that does exactly what is expected of you. Also, we use referral based on people that I had worked with earlier on as a freelance interior designer. So they like the referrals I get and the comments I get on my work, they try and win the trust of the client. So basically when movement was isn't a little bit, I'm a bit able to move around right now, so with precaution, but I try as much as possible to move around. Also, when it comes to non-decorative interior design, I usually try and advise the client to do a price check of every item before you reach out to me. So as much as you want me to do something for you, you need to also do a study so that we are on the same page on what you really want. Trust is something that grows with the business. It is going to grow. Like in the 4 months, I think I'm having a good percentage of trust right now.
Or at least having a good percentage of trust from clients. But Rita, we just understand that sometimes there are those difficult clients, complaining clients. A case in point, someone has seen your work probably online, seeing that a good percentage of your business, you're operating it from online, and they probably give you what it is that they want. Then you go do the work, you're delivering it to them, but they go like, Rita, this is not exactly what I wanted. So how do you go about that? Do you repeat the job? How do you go about dealing with such difficult kind of clients?
Okay, basically I am client-based, I am customer-based, so I work to serve you before you can pay me. So if you're not satisfied with what you're paying for, it is only fair for me to make it satisfactory to you. So when I push a product forward to a client and the client feels it is not what exactly they wanted, I take up the loss. Remember, in a business, the business is 100%. Your profit should be at least 70%. The other 30% is spread between liability and losses. So you get to understand that there are certain things you will do that maybe go wrong somewhere, and you have to take the responsibility because it is in your place as the original interior designer to take up the task. So you meet difficult clients, it is normal, but you learn how to handle them and try as much as possible to make it satisfactory to them. That is basically what I do. I go back all the way down and start afresh to make sure that you get exactly what you wanted.
Well, you said something very important, which I'd really love you to expound a bit on that, especially for those that are watching and they probably would want to start a business or even venture into the interior design, decor kind of business. And you've said that sometimes, especially for that business owner, it is that ability to be able to take up a loss. That doesn't quite happen oftentimes because one would wonder, I already did the job, I delivered, so why am I taking up a loss? Talk to us a bit about that, at least for people to be able to understand when you say that, what exactly does it mean and how do you go about taking up a loss as a business person, as an entrepreneur?
Okay, the moment you walk into a business, you should understand that loss is inevitable. It will come either way. So you should understand that you should be ready for loss. So where the problem comes in is where there is no mutual conversation between the giver and the taker. And that is where you get, there'll be maybe commotion and misunderstanding. But when there is a mutual understanding between the giver and the taker, then there is always an understanding. You will always get a ground. So before you take up a task, talk to the client, understand exactly what they want. But if in one way or another, remember like me, I use fundis, I use people from outside to make certain things. The fundi might mess me up. And that is not the blame to the giver, it is the blame to the taker, who was me as the business person. So it is, it has come to a point where business people in Kenya need to understand that loss is almost inevitable, and you should allow yourself to be a risk taker. It's worth it. Learn to be a risk taker. Do not feel bad when there is loss, because once you have made one product, it went well, and you had a good relationship with the client, it means you will definitely get referrals, you will get good radiance, you will get good wordings from your clients. So be ready to take the risk, be ready to accept the loss. It is almost inevitable when it comes to business. As long as the loss is not 80% and every other thing is 20%, okay.
That is really beautiful.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to be a risk taker. Now, let me just pick your mind a bit on that. Do you think that is one of the problems that we have with many business enterprises and even for startups, not really wanting to take risks and to go all the way out? Yeah?
Yeah, that is a problem because during my client study and my market study, I realized that a lot of people were stretching towards international companies. And one of the main reasons why international companies are doing very well in our own country is because they took these things and they understood them. They take the risk. Like they'll tell you, this person is willing to listen to me and redo something that was not done the right way. They give me exactly what I want. It does not mean that a local company cannot do that. It only means that local companies are afraid of the risk and the loss that might outcome from a certain kind of job. You see, so I'd like to encourage them. This is a very big challenge, as much as it is not talked about, but a lot of people walk into business with the aim of profit and not understanding that everything good comes with a bad patch somewhere in the middle.
Okay, fair enough. And just again, to remind our viewers is that I'm speaking to Brita Osoro, CEO of Biz Deco Hub. She's talking to us about matters interior design and interior deco and exactly how you can begin as someone who wants to venture into this business and how to do that just precisely within a budget. Brita, coming back to you, there's a part where you talked about payments. And this specifically goes to those online clients. What mode of payment do you have and what makes it so easy for you and sustainable for you to use this specific mode of payment?
Okay, so mostly we use M-Pesa, that is pay bill or direct to our number. But when it comes to huge money, like huge transactions of money, we have to do it through a bank so that the client gets security for their money. So we usually do the transactions through the bank. But if it's payment for goods or services, we usually use M-Pesa. So I use M-Pesa because it is efficient for me. It works very well for me. I am able to access my money at any time without difficulty. So that is basically what I use. But also with M-Pesa, there is the element of delivering and not being paid. But that is a challenge. We expect tech gurus to do something about it. But yeah, that is also a challenge. Sometimes you deliver, you have malicious clients, they don't pay. But yeah, we hope that will be sorted. We'll get an option on what we're supposed to do about that.
All right, and still just talking about that mode of payment and the way of delivery. Again, there's those clients, probably your mode of payment being that you have to pay first before you deliver the product. But here there are these clients that say, for me, I have to see and ascertain, regardless of where they are, before I pay. How do you go about this?
Okay, when it's an item, let me give an example of a pillowcase. So maybe I'm selling this pillowcase. A client feels they want the pillowcase, but they want to see it first. I usually take the risk, and that is where the risk taker comes in. I take the risk to even send one piece to that client, then talk to the client about it, because I'd rather go a loss of one piece than send you a whole lot and you pay for nothing. So I usually send one sample piece to the client. The client looks at the item. If they feel it is up to their standard, then we push through with the order. Also, I am working on getting contacts in almost 10 towns right now where my items can be accessed. Sample of my items can be accessed. So if you're in a town where my business is not in and you feel you need that thing, then I will liaise you to my contact. You can look at the things and then purchase, make an order from there.
Okay.
That I feel limits my exposure to loss and fraud.
All right. So again, that aspect of risk taking as a business person also comes into play. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
It does come into play.
Okay, good enough. Now, what about this bargaining clients? A case in point, this is what this product goes for. And you see, for you as a business person, you already know why you're placing the sale on that particular product. But then there's this client who just want to say, for me, I can only afford this. So again, just for the benefit of helping our viewers understand, and especially for those starting up entrepreneurs to, again, do things within a budget, how do you go about dealing with such kind of clients? The one that will just bargain, but for you as a business person, you still feel like that you have to sell this product. How do you navigate through?
Okay, so basically when it comes to customers, the moment I decided to open the business, I understood that I had to deal with very many types of customers. We get those customers most of the time, but it's all about making them understand the quality of the product and the price, the reason why that product is being sold at that price. If I am able to cut my profit limit maybe by a little just so I can accommodate you, that is something that I can do. Okay. But if it is almost impossible, I will try as much as possible in a humble way to explain to you that that is the best price I can give the item to you with. So most of the time, clients go away dissatisfied. Most of the time, like sometimes you'll find a client who feels as if you didn't accommodate them, but then somewhere along the way they just get the sense, like you cannot practically satisfy 100%. There's the 20 or the 10% that feels you're not doing the things right, but you just move on. There's nothing you can do about such clients because they are also supposed to be willing to get to the price of an item if they really need it.
Okay, you just move on. But I love what you say, that sometimes you can be able to cut down the price a bit to accommodate a client. We don't see more of that for, in regards to business owners or even entrepreneurs. What really makes you as a business person, especially in the design business, to have that thought that I can be able to cut down the cost a bit to just accommodate this client? And what is the importance of that for the sake of a business person or a starting up kind of entrepreneur?
Okay, basically in business you need profit. Okay. As small as the profit margin is, or as tiny as the profit margin is, it is still profit. Mm-hmm. And if you feel you can accommodate a client because they just need maybe 100 bob or 50 bob less, and that would cut your profit margin, you need this client again tomorrow and the day after. You need referrals from this client. So there is no need of being greedy for a 70% profit when you can have a 60% profit and accommodate 5 more clients. So that is basically what I usually look at. Secondly, you should also realize that the more your money lies around in an investment, the less value you get for your money. So it is good if you have products that are moving through the market very fast so you can recycle your money. So when you cannot accommodate clients who will help you recycle the money, it is almost impossible. You will close down in a very short period of time.
Okay, wow. And I think that's why now we're getting, that is now the importance of at least sometimes as an entrepreneur or someone starting up to cut down a bit on the cost just to accommodate the client. Now, earlier on, you had also mentioned that you are both online and you have a physical store. How would you compare the two, being in business and especially trying to do it within a budget? Because sometimes one would think, if I'm doing it within a budget, then I just need an online, platform, because there I can use Facebook, the Gram, and YouTube. But then having a physical store, sometimes that brings that idea of I have to be paying rent. Yet I'm trying to do this thing within a budget. So having an online platform and a physical store, how would you compare the two?
Okay, basically right now online is thriving. It is really thriving because a lot of people are accessing items through online. Yeah. But normally I would advise someone to have both. This is because you can choose to at least get just a small shop somewhere. You'll do referrals of your shop through your online business. Now, this is because this is why you need a physical shop. Okay. You'll have clients who are walking, clients who do not relate with social media, clients who do not relate with the internet. You will have these clients who will walk in the morning and tell you, I saw something yesterday here and I really need it. So this also gives your business some sort of security. Also, when it's online and you tag a physical shop, it gives the person buying from the other end some sort of security, because this is someone who knows if this item is not delivered, I know where to find this person physically using the physical shop. Also, register your business kindly. No matter how small it is, register that business. It is meant to be known that it exists. This gives you security in very many ways. So when it comes to online and someone does a search on your business, they will find that this is a legal business, a registered business. It also goes back to the element of trust, trust between your clients.
Okay, now we see the importance of having a physical store in as much as you're also, doing online and using the online platforms. Now, coming to just the online platform again, as we close up on that online beat, is maybe you can just tell us from your experience as someone who's in that business, and also using online, how has the online platform helped grow your business? In what capacities, in what way has it grown your business as an interior designer?
Okay, with online platforms, I get to advertise my business. They get to be seen by masses because online is full. So I get to advertise, I get to do marketing, I get free marketing strategy. See, so basically online is more so a backbone for Biz Deca Hub for the last 4 months, because that is where I get to source, that is where I get marketing, that is where I advertise, and that is basically where I get most of my sales from. So online is really playing a very big role when it comes to business right now. And it's all about understanding how the online trends are. I'm not saying that I'm really good at it right now, but I'm getting a hang of it. So you just try as much as possible to post something. No matter how tired you are, it is that day that someone would see that something and buy it. So no matter how tired you are, or no matter how low your stock is getting, just try as much as possible to post every morning. You will get a response. There's always someone watching. Online is basically the backbone of business right now until COVID-19 decides otherwise.
Okay, so at least also just try to post, try to keep up with the online trends. If at all you're not understanding, just try to learn a thing or two. That is what you're saying, Rita. All right, so I just want you to hang in there. We want to take a very short break, but we'll be back with Brita Osoro to continue talking to us about designing within a business, within a budget. So that means as an entrepreneur, as a startup, how do you get to do that if at all you want to explore the interior decor and design business? We take that break. Don't go too far. We'll be back.
When we moved from analog to digital, we took the opportunity to share our talanta. And the rise of local radio represented our voices mtaani. And now, in these difficult times, free educational shows are helping our children learn from home. And new ICT and educational platforms are going to make sure that no one is left behind.
Mawasiliano kwetu, nguvu kwako. The Communications Authority of Kenya. Opening your world.
The date for the FA Cup final is set, and so are we, as Arsenal and Chelsea face off again on the 1st of August at Wembley. The All London affair will be broadcast live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1 this Saturday from 7:30 p.m.
Cesar Azpilicueta again for Giroud. Oh, and it's found a way through.
Heads up. It is a showdown worth your wait.
Hamjambo Wakenya wenzangu. Mimi ni Mheshimiwa Mize. Ninalotaka kuambia ni kuwasihi ya kwamba korona iko. Na ili tupigane nayo na tuishinde. Ukikohoa, tafadhali kama una ile ya kujifunika ile tissue, weka mkono hapa. Kama ni chafya yako atyo na itabakia pale pale. Kama ni kukohoa yako koholea hapo. Na nakwambia tukizingatia sheria na tuitii, hii corona tutaishinda na nchi yetu tutarudi kama kawaida.
Welcome back and many thanks for staying with us. We continue with our conversation this morning, our focus being on designing within a budget. And Birita was just talking to us before we went on that break. Birita, now let's talk about another aspect. The aspect of support, because you could be having that capital, you're trying to really budget, trying to have strategy, but sometimes you may just not have the support system that you need in your case. And again, for the benefit of our viewers to understand probably ways in which they can get support, how did you go about it and how was it like for you?
Okay, growing up, I understood that human beings are the type of people that work with examples. Okay. So if you really need a strong support system, you have to come out strong. Prove to them that this is exactly what you do and you understand what you're doing. I got support by first standing on my own and pushing to a certain level, and then the support system came in. Now, when it comes to support, you should really be careful because humans are humans. Be careful of the kind of advice you get. Be careful on the kind of referrals you get. Always do a study. As much as I advise you about 1, 2, 3 things, you should also try as much as possible to look into those things before you take the advice. You will always have people advising you, but it is your choice to take the positive, leave the negative, and move on. Now, get a couple of good friends, choose your friends wisely, relate with your family well. You will get the support. Okay, and support is more of networking also, because the more you move into the market and the more you walk into the business, the more you're going to meet people. And in every 5 people you meet, you will meet one person who's willing to help you out in one thing. Never be afraid to speak out. Never be afraid to say when you're feeling not decided. Be easy with it. Basically, do not really put 100% reliance on support. Use 100% reliance on positivity and believing in yourself. Okay. Because basically everyone right now is going through a very difficult moment. Yeah. So putting someone behind you all the time might be very difficult. They might lose it somewhere along the way. So it is also good to make sure that you as an individual have a very strong foundation in what exactly you're doing.
Wow, some great nuggets there, Brita. But I think I really love what you're saying there, especially when it comes to, entrepreneurs or startups wanting to seek support. And this is in regards to just what you say in terms of proving yourself. Because oftentimes someone would say, I have the idea. All I just need is for you to back me up. But what you're saying is that it is important for you to prove yourself worthy of that backing.
Yes, never use a second voice. Always use the first voice that tells you you can. Move on. Do what you want to do. Every other person will follow. You need to lead your crew. Lead them to where you want them to support you towards. They cannot support someone they don't see the direction in. So you need to first make it knowledgeable to them exactly what you want to achieve. Yeah. Then the support will come from there.
All right, fair enough. Now, let's look at working effectively under pressure, because this is, again, one of those aspects, especially when work is coming, clients are just ordering in, seeing products here and there. Someone says, I want this, I want that. And sometimes the orders become so many. So for you as a person, how are you able to work under pressure? And how would you tell someone wanting to start this business on how they can be able to go about it and still be able to deliver well to the clients?
Honestly, I feel, okay, in my business field specifically, I feel you will never have so much pressure if you're honest.
Okay.
So if you are overwhelmed, just tell the client you need pictures of your pillowcases, but I'm dealing with other clients. There is a schedule or a certain criteria I'm following in serving you. Try as much as possible to serve your clients. So me personally, I usually have a schedule. Like I look at all the orders I have. I usually break them based on the number. So when I break them, I communicate to the client. So I'll be like, the first 20, I'll deal with them on Monday in the afternoon. The other 20, I'll deal with them Tuesday in the morning. So I usually try as much as possible to make communication very efficient between me and the client. So as much as you really, it is almost inevitable to get the pressure, but if you're honest, you will never feel the pressure getting to you. Just tell the client, I am not able to deliver today. I will deliver tomorrow. I will do this, and make sure you're promising a date that you're sure about. Do not tell a client that you'll deliver tomorrow, and tomorrow you're very sure you will not be able to do it. Okay, there is also this other part of things that you don't have control over. Part of these things are the delivery process within the country. So sometimes a delivery company will tell you they'll deliver within 2 days, they deliver after 3 or 4 days. So at that point, you are expected to let the client know that there might be a delay in delivery. Kindly bear with me because it is not my private delivery company. So honesty is the key to pressure. I found that out when I started this business. Honesty is the key to pressure. You will never get ultimate pressure when you're honest.
Honesty is the key to pressure. That is your advice, but also just saying that honesty is very important, because also that is again what helps build and create trust to your clientele. Now you are also planning to work on expand to exterior designs. Tell us a bit about that.
So I'm currently taking online classes on landscaping.
Okay.
I already did the study on flowers, gazebos, and everything. So in the next couple of months, I think I will be okay, because I feel it is only fair for me to walk into a business venture that I'm knowledgeable about. So I'm taking my time to be really exposed and knowledgeable on that element. And once I'm done, I will definitely tell my clients that I'm ready for exterior.
To be knowledgeable and knowledgeable, one important thing, because sometimes that becomes a missing link, especially for business person, feels like already if you have the business, then why else am I getting extra knowledge? So for you, you're saying that you are taking extra classes, and that it's also important for people to try and seek knowledge for business persons.
Do not walk into a business that you're not knowledgeable about. It will mess you up.
All
You
right.
will find clients who will really challenge you with all the knowledge they know from social media and internet. You really need to know what you're doing.
All right. Thank you very much, Rita, for your time, just talking to us about designing within a budget, how to go about it. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. So again, that has been Brita Osoro, CEO of Bees Deca, talking to us about matters interior design. And I believe that we've also been able to get a bit of those nuggets there, especially how to go about it in case in point where you do not have enough capital. She's really well explained that for us, for someone who wants to start up, how to start, how to go about it, and how to stay afloat in such kind of a business. We take yet another break, but don't go anywhere. We'll still be back with our next and last conversation of the day. We take that break again, but just stay with us. We'll be back with more.
Cohabiting is defined as an act of couples living together before getting married. It has become a common norm in present-day Kenya, most especially among the youth. We hit the streets of Nairobi to seek the opinions of Kenyans regarding what they think about acts of cohabiting. Take a look.
Kama umeamua kuishi na mtu kimhali na mapenzi na mnaonalia mtawana baadaye. Watu wengi sana wamekuwa wakiishi na watu baadaye wanawatumia na wanawadamu. This is not correct. As a young person, make sure that dating doesn't go up to muishi na ule mtu akujua kimwili, sababu atakuharibu na wengi wao after kuwajua kufanya mapenzi na wanawaacha. Kwa hivyo utatumiwa na watu wangapi kitambo upate ule wako. We kaa mpaka ule mtu akuandikie muende kanisani muoane ama sivyo. Marriage ndio kweli legitimate marriage, si mambo na kushinda ukipeana mwili ovyo ovyo. Kaa chonjo.
I think most of them do it because of peer pressure. Because this age, people tend to follow clout, like what other people are doing. So I think people should know their place. Just know what you want. That way you won't be swayed by other people. But I don't think it's right for you to move in with someone, especially because your parents won't approve of you staying with someone and you're not married.
Kama mshapendana si lazima fanye ndoa alafu ndo muane. Pia bado mkiwa tu mnaishi na hivyo hata kama mjaoana pia naona iko sawa.
I don't approve because this may force some of them to indulge in fornication, which is not right. It's a sin. Yeah, and obviously it's peer pressure from some of the friends.
According to the African culture, si right. Lakini unajua times zinasonga na tunatend kutoka kwa the culture into the 21st century. Na seti inamaanisha tu tunatoka from letters to phones, things zina change. So mimi sioni kiwa shida.
Haikuangi poa juu tazoeana sana, and then mostly hao wenye wanakuanga wakiishi pamoja, they'll not even end up in marriage, and ina raising issues mingi because zile killings mingi tumesikia about love issues and love triangles zinakuanga za watu wamekuwa wakiishi pamoja. Sioni kikaa poa.
Ina depend na mfuko yako. Kama una do uko ready kusettle, si usettle tu. Mfuko yako ndio ina determine. Bora uko responsible enough, unajua huyu ndio dem uko ready kusettle na yeye, ni sawa.
Si jambo nzuri sababu kama ni msichana tuseme wamepatana na kijana, kitu ya kwanza kama ni msichana wapeane time ndio kila mtu apate kujua mwingine ako aje. Juu kama ni msichana anaweza kibiria kijana na ajue hiyo kijana ni yani tabia zake ni gani. Kama pia ni kijana anaweza shikana na msichana ajue tabia zake ni gani. So mi kwa maoni yangu naona ni heri wapatiane muda. Kama wameelewana mambo ya kuona, waende kwa wazazi kwanza. Kama ni msichana aende kwa kina kijana ajue hiyo jamii tabia zao ni gani. Pia kama ni kijana aende kwa kina huyo msichana ajue tabia ya hiyo jamii na gani. Lakini si mambo ati mmepatana, mmeongea, mmeanza kukaa pamoja. Hiyo ndio unapata sana sana inachagia mambo ya nini. Kama ni kijana maybe ni mvutaji wa mbagi, anaweza chukua kisu na aduge msichana. Sasa hiyo hata mimi kwa maoni yangu naona ile kitu kizuri ni kama watu wamependana kwanza wapatiane muda ndio kila mtu ajue mwenzake vyenye ako.
I think mtu anafaa tu aishi kwao mpaka hiyo time ya kuoana ikifika. Yeah, and they should go through the right procedures. Maybe waongee na wazazi wajue unakanga na huyu mtu. Like that.
Welcome back, and again, many thanks for staying with Good Morning Kenya this Wednesday morning. Time for our next and last conversation this morning. We want to talk about giving back to the society. Joining me on set is Stephanie Wanjiru, who is the National Director of CTB Organization. Stephanie, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm so excited. I'm full of joy.
Full of joy. What gives you joy?
Because this is a platform already being of inspiration to lives already. That's what gives me joy.
So this is why you're so bright, so calm, cool, composed, excited.
Yeah, actually I'm burning inside already.
All right, talk to us about CTB. Before we get to the whole aspect of giving back and trying to understand what made you want to do this as a person, especially as a young person. CTB, even the initials, what does it mean? What happens there? What do you guys do there in that organization?
Okay, first of all, thank you for the opportunity. Okay, to my viewers, my name is Stephanie. Okay, CTB simply means crashing the barriers. So CTB is an organization, let me say it's globally. Before I talk more of that, maybe I can... global. Yeah, it's globally. Before I talk of that, maybe I can talk of how I did get myself involved in CTB.
Yeah, tell us.
So I'm a volleyballer by profession. So there's this person who used to follow me on my FB page, on my WhatsApp page. So each time I'll post, I'll say like, I want to live playing, to be of inspiration to people's lives. Despite the fact you have, for instance, despite the fact that you have a challenge, or rather you don't have anyone to nurture you, I'm there to be of inspiration to someone's life. So someone used to follow on my page, and I usually say, okay, it has always been my role that I always want to spend my life mending broken people.
Wow.
I want to spend my life removing pains. I want to spend my life being the cry of the nations. When I did tell Mom that, Mom, there's this call I have in my life, it's burning in me. So Mom used to tell me like, Steph, will you manage to do this such that we are coming from a humble background?
Yeah.
So what I told my mom is, it doesn't matter where I've come from. What matters is what I feel inside, because there's one thing that is usually said, when you have a desire to do something, or rather if you have a calling to do, people will always be compelled to support you no matter what.
Wow. And so CTB is all about mending lives and all about being inspiration.
Exactly.
Inspirational, especially, is it to young people or just, everyone?
Okay, let me say
How
this
is your audience cut across?
Okay, my audience, we focus more on the youths.
So again, the young people.
On the young people, but recently I've noticed also the more than 40 guys, they want also to join me. They want to be part of
These
me.
are older people?
Exactly.
All right.
So
that means they also want inspiration.
Exactly. Someone will come and approach me. By that, Steph, I'm inspired by what to do, but I don't know where to start. Can you please guide me on how to start? So I'm like, yeah, despite the fact we are youths,
the age difference might be huge.
Yeah, it may be huge, but as long as you have a heart of service, you're free to join me.
Heart of service, free to join you. Now, let's talk a bit about how you juggle the two, because you are, young, a student, still a national director, because giving back is not an easy task. Sometimes you go to different places, even different counties, different areas. So how do you juggle the two? Being a student, still giving back, in as much as your school are closed as of now, but how do you juggle the two?
Okay, good question. Okay, how I juggle it, first of all, when it comes to my studies, especially now being in campus, I think there's a way first you have to do is time management. There's a way you can set a time, this is a time for studies, and this is a time for now reaching out. But let me say, when it comes to me, despite the fact, okay, I'm doing law.
Yes, wow. So that means a lot of reading also.
Exactly. Okay, despite the fact I'm doing law, I don't focus much more on education. Yes, I focus more on that.
Yes.
But I've come to realize reaching out, it's more of my burning more than my studies.
More of your passion.
Yeah, more of my passion than the studies. Okay, I'll attend the lectures, I'll finish them, I'll do the assignment, but I'll be like, when will this lecture end so that I can go? I find somewhere I can go with my team.
So for you, law is just being in a class. Not that you hate it, but being in a class.
Being in a class. But when it comes to the studies, I'll go through it maybe in the evening or rather at night. But my daytime is always spent on which organization will I reach, which is these places they have no food to eat, which is these places they're so disadvantaged. So when you find me with my phone, especially when I'm online, those are the places I usually search.
Wow. So this is something that you really love.
I really, actually, let me say even love, it's like an understatement.
Love
it's more than love. It's more than,
all right.
I don't know which term we can use, but
so, okay. We can't even get a term for that.
Exactly.
Fine. No, but at least what you're saying is that you can be able to find time to do school and do what you love, which just brings that idea of, especially young people, because sometimes someone would say, I'm working, maybe I'm in a work setup, how can I do what I love extra? Not saying that I don't love my job, but what can I do if I can't do something extra than this? And just drawing from what you're saying is that one can be able to manage their time, and it's no excuse of doing what you probably love.
Exactly.
All right, so that's what you're saying. Now, you talked a bit about inspiration when you were beginning and how CTB was birthed and born, but from your perspective, was it like a personal story, something that probably you went through as a person that made you say, I want to be part of this organization to help, give back, assist people in our community?
Okay, in regards to that, as I mentioned, I'm from a humble beginning, and my mom has struggled enough to raise me with my siblings. So when it came to a point like we don't have food to eat, we don't have like school, I want to go to school, but I don't have that opportunity. So that's when I realized, if this has happened to me, what about that person who is on the streets, or rather, what about that person who doesn't have anybody to call, anywhere to call a home? So that's where I realized that this organization, and despite the fact that person, the founder of it he's in South Africa. So despite the fact he approached me and told me, by that Steph, I'm inspired by what you quote on your Facebook. Please help me.
So there was a post actually on Facebook.
Yeah, there's a post. And that's actually, if when someone goes on my FB page, everything, it's all about, I want to spend my life removing pains. Anything I post, there must be that statement. So someone was moved by that and told me, please join my group. And that's how I started with CTB.
Okay. So at least this was, your personal story that also informed you to wanting to do this.
Exactly.
Okay, then at what stage and what point in your life did you realize, okay, in as much as yes, you had that personal story, that probably was hinting something to you that I might want to do this in my life because of where I'm coming from and the background. But at what point and stage in your life did you realize, by the way, for me as Steph, this is what I'm all about. This is my calling, this is my purpose, this is my passion.
Okay, I realized when I was 7 years old.
At a young age like that?
Yeah, exactly. So there's this time mom used to, I've spent my time on a boarding, so I started earlier. So I came to realize that when I'm boat shopping, I'm giving out.
And here you are from a humble background.
Yeah, despite the fact I'll be bought like, let me use for instance pads.
Yeah.
Despite the fact I'll be bought 3 pads, I'll find myself giving 1, or rather 2. I remain with 1.
Sometimes mom has really struggled.
Yet mom. So mom will be like, "Hey Steph, why are you giving out? Don't you mind of yourself?" So I'll be like, "Mom, sometime later on you'll come to realize this is the calling of my life." But when it came to that point, even in schools, there are always different categories.
Yes.
So it came to a point also, let me say also my genius, it helped me a lot because people contributed to my studies. And when I was contributed, I'll say, despite the fact they will, let me say, spend or rather spare some money to give to me for shopping, I'll use quarter of my money on myself. The
rest you're giving.
The others I'll just, it's better I go buy food than I take, or I'll initiate with the principal. I'll tell him, please take this, go and buy for them, whatever they have, either it's books or what. Let me stay with what I have.
Just listening to you, Steph, already, it just baffles me to think that, coming from a humble background, mom struggling to get you stuff, but here you go ahead wanting to give to people. That heart of generosity, really just showing us that this is really what you wanted to do, and you identified this at a very young age. Because 7 years, what kids are doing at that time is probably playing outside, not even thinking about life per se.
Exactly.
So then talk to us about the importance of identifying purpose and calling early on in life. How significant is that?
Okay, one significance, it will help you, let me say, on knowing who you are. Because most people, they don't know who they are. And unless you know who you are, unless you discover your purpose in life, that's when you'll know who you are. So one thing I'll advise, or rather for you to know your purpose, or rather for you, one significance of that, it will help you plan on your life, as in it will help you know the path that you're heading to. Because for instance, like me, despite the fact I want to do law, I don't want to be that lawyer that will be on court or like, hey, you have done this. No. I want to be on that court. I'll be the one telling that prisoner, you have to change, my friend. You have to make an impact. You have to change on what you do, because I want my life always is, I always say I want to be a practical thing. an inspiration tool that when I get into contact with you, you'll learn something from me.
Wow.
You'll change from who you were from yesterday to a better future tomorrow.
Wow, already feeling inspired even as I'm sitting here right next to you. But what you're saying is that it is very important to identify purpose as early, early enough if you may. And this is good enough because it helps you plan your life ahead.
Yeah, also, let me add on that.
Okay.
When you know the significance of your purpose in life, despite the fact of which I'll talk about, I've received so much critics. So when you discover your purpose in life, no matter what you hear, no matter what the worldly negative voices they talk, you're determined to your path. You're determined to your calling. So you'll be having this passion, I must do it. No matter what, no matter where I was, no matter what I'll face, it's a must do because that's my calling in life.
Yeah. Now you've said that you've also received a lot of critics, which is again, it just plays out for everyone. Especially if you're trying to do something that you love. Sometimes people tell you, no, you can't. No one in our family has done this. What makes you so exceptional and special about this? So for you, how do you deal with critics?
Okay, let me relate with, let me say for instance, last Saturday I had a project.
Okay.
I was in Global Hope Rescue. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a street foundation based place. So there was this person who will tell me like, Steph, how do you manage it? First of all, we are on lockdown. Second thing, people are not going to work. Third thing, you're planning to reach out to more than 300 kids. So I was like, how can you do it? There's these people who tell you like, Steph, you are not serious. But
what's this you're doing?
What's this you're doing? So one way to deal with these critics, let me say I'm a prayerful guy. When you are so prayerful to God, there's always an assured response that you'll get at the end. And because God has always, let me say, when you read your Bible very well, it always tells that everything is possible. When you start and you have, let me say, you're so committed to your God, He will never fail you. So one thing I've always told God, despite the fact the critics I'm facing, He will never disappoint me. And I'm this person is always, let me say, I'm always confident in myself.
Confident.
That's one thing. I'm always confident.
You even look confident when you walked in this studio.
Then the other thing, apart from being confident, I always talk positive. No matter what people say, I'll always say I'm a winner all time.
Okay.
And above everything, dealing with these critics, I always tell someone, instead of you talking, please join us so that you may have something to change for you not to talk on the same, because it's kind of an amazing or rather surprising thing to them who are rather criticizing you. At the end, they're the one jubilating you.
So what you're saying is that to deal with critics, and this goes out for anyone, because sometimes someone would say, I'd rather stick to the job and fear of going ahead with my passion and even purpose, because sometimes purpose and what you're doing may be a bit different. And someone would say, I fear of going into it because what if they don't clap for me? What if they don't say yes? What if they criticize me? And what you're saying is that it is very important to deal with them with such kind of things by, first of all, being prayerful, being confident, knowing what you want and what you deserve. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, good enough. Now let's talk about the things that one can be able to, to see in them that can be able to make them identify. This is why I was born. This is what I'm built for. When you're talking to someone, especially for the young people that you even deal with, what can someone look out for them to identify purpose, calling, and what it is they were born to do?
Okay, the first thing you'll have to look at your interests. What are you interested in?
Is this the things that someone loves to do?
Yeah, in loves. Someone maybe may not be interested in this, but maybe you find yourself, maybe you're singing all alone. Yeah. You find yourself, you're drawing. So first of all, when you discover what you love, that's the way first to go. Then the other thing, for you to get to know what, or rather for you to be directed there, the second thing you'll focus on, what does your heart tell you? Because if you listen to your inner man, I believe everyone has an inner man who will always tell you, by the stuff, you can do this. By the stuff, you're destined to this. As in listening to yourself, not listening to people's voices, but listening to what your inner man says. Then the other thing, I've always, to get on that point, when you pray enough, there's this Holy Spirit. Let me
Get spiritual a bit.
Yeah. Okay, when you pray, there's this, the Holy Spirit will always give you directions, such that even when you are almost getting lost, you're always directed to what you want to do in life. So focus on your inner man, focus on what your mind. There's something called the power of the mind. Your creative power is your imaginative ability. So what you create with your mind, that's where your direction will go with your life.
Wow. That looks so powerful. Your creative ability is what?
Yeah, it's your imaginative
Is your
power.
imaginative power. And also just what you're saying is that someone can still be able to be in school. If it's a job, they can still be able to be there, but still be able to do their purpose.
Exactly.
It does not negate that just because you're in this space in life, you can't do what you're called for.
Exactly.
All right. Again, just a reminder of viewers, I'm speaking to Stephanie Wanjiru, the National Director, CTB organization. She's talking to us about giving back to the society, what exactly necessitated her to want to do this, and some of the areas that at least she has tackled in terms of giving back to the society. Now, coming back to you, Steph, part of what CTB does is putting fingerprints on people's lives. I want us to talk a bit about that. First of all, make us understand, when you say putting fingerprints on people's lives, what exactly does it mean and how do you go about it?
Okay, what exactly I mean is, for instance, let me say, let's use my country, which I am, Kenya.
Yes.
When you check on news, there's so many people dying of hunger. There's so many people, despite the fact there's this corona thing, most of the people, they don't have someone to call for help. And when I say my life is putting fingerprints on people's lives, when I come, I give you food. I've already got into contact with you. I've already given what I have, what I've raised with my team. So putting fingerprints on you, it simply means like I've come to dispense my blessings to you. Or rather, I have come to share my joy with you. Or rather, I have come to be your hope when there seems to be no hope. I have come to be your cry when there seems to be no help. So when I put my fingerprints on your life, you'll remember that one day Steph helped me a lot. And that someone who I helped, maybe one day he will be the one who will help me.
You might never know.
Because I came, I helped. Because there's a saying that says, do good.
Yeah, you might never know.
You might never know. So that's one way I usually put fingerprints on people's lives. And how I go about it, for example, that is now when I have a project. So the first thing is I'll first think about it. Then I write it on paper. Before first I announce to the people, I first plan it first on myself with me and my mind and my paper and my God involved.
Pray again.
Exactly.
All right.
So after that, I'll tell someone, create for me a poster. Okay, for instance, before I continue, when I create a project, that time, it doesn't mean that I have money at the moment. No, I don't have. When I check on
because
my
again,
mom's...
that is one aspect that makes people not to do stuff.
Exactly.
I don't have money. How do I go about it?
Okay, then when I check on mom, herself too, she doesn't have. She only has the one that she can feed us with. So me, I'm not moved whether there's money or not. So I'll tell someone, create for me a poster. Then after a poster, now that's where I'll start. First of all, how I get my donations first, I usually, you see, like the way you can sit down with your phone, you are searching on business or that. So me, I'll sit with my phone, I search on donations or other organizations that give donations. You might find myself, I'll find this Ms. Miller's organization. I don't know, I've never approached them, but it will be me with my phone. So I send them to email, I have this and this, it will be on this date, kindly support us. I'll send as many emails as possible.
And you don't give up on doing that?
I don't give up. Like, let me use this project that I had, because now this is the one I've done, this one. Like, for instance, this for the global, which I had. You know, you as being the national director, all people are looking at you. So I had to sit my phone. I sent almost 100 emails in a day.
Wow.
Despite the fact they won't be replied, I still won't give
You
up.
keep doing it.
I keep doing it. Then I reach out to supermarkets. I reach out to banks. Anything that will come in my mind, I send to emails. When I see they don't reply, now the next step I'll do is now going physically. Let me start, for instance, with Kasmat supermarket. Kasmat, it's in Githurai. So that day, I told my mom, like, Mom, I'm going somewhere. So Mom was like, where are you going? So because I moved from the house from 5 p.m. So I don't know, as in, let me say, for instance, hey, this faith in me is so strong.
So basically, at least you just go approaching whatever comes to mind. You approach. You're not fearful.
I'm not fearful.
And that is what also brings that aspect that you mentioned earlier of confidence. Just be confident in what you're trying to do.
Exactly.
If it comes through, good enough. If it doesn't, at least you tried.
Yeah. Okay. About that, let me finish on this. I went. I approached the manager, as in I approached first the customer care. I told them, excuse me, ma, sir, we have this project. So she was like, you have told us late, we can't help you. And that time it was almost 14 days to the project. I didn't give up. I told the customer care, I want to see the manager. So she was like, did I tell you that you can't see the manager, you have told us late? So for instance, when I was almost leaving, the manager came. So he was like, what are you doing? What are you guys fighting or something? I was like, no, sir, I wanted to meet you. So when I introduced to the manager was like, wow, sure, why can't we not help you? In fact, the other strategy that you should do, you should come to the supermarket every evening. Come, you see the way customers usually live. Come introduce to them, you have these donations. And I'm telling you this through this strategy, me using the emails, approaching different organizations. That's how we got our support from, and that's how I got money. Apart from my friends, of course I have some friends who, they'll be like, let me watch, I see what Steph will do. Of course, everyone has those people who must see. So despite the fact some of my friends supported me, most of my support, I got it from organizations.
And people that you're not even aware of.
Me with my phone, reaching out to emails after emails.
So that again brings that aspect of always use what you have.
Always use what you have.
Okay. Now I want us to move to another aspect, and this is in regards to the kind of projects that you people that you do at the organization, and also in terms of how you go about giving back to the society. And this now comes to the aspect of high schools, because this is again what you also do in terms of mentoring people in schools. So I want you to help us understand: is it really high schools or primary or both?
Okay, let me say it's both.
It's both high school and primary? High
school and primary. Before I talk on that, there's this initiative I'm also coming up with. It's called...
Really coming up with so many projects.
Okay, it's called Cloud Note. Okay. And let me give a brief view of what Cloud Note is. Cloud Note, this is an educational system that comprises... Let me say it's a software that comprises of so many bits inside. Like for instance, you see the way students or parents, they don't really communicate with their students because of their task, or rather on their work they're doing. Yeah. So when it comes to this software, there's a point whereby the student must always be presenting the homework via that system, whereby if the parent wants to know how the student is going on, he doesn't have to call the teacher to know how he or she is faring on. He will just click on the name of the student, the assignment he or she has been given, the topics he has covered. So this system, for instance, because I know I serve a God who lives, I want to introduce it here in Kenya, and I'm so sure I'm going to impact so many schools.
So that's an initiative that you're still working on.
I'm still working on, and if I have also to reach to the president, I will do so.
You will.
I will.
Okay, now let's talk about that which you do in schools in terms of mentorship, and at least you've told us it's both high school and primary, where you go at least doing that, giving back, but it is in terms of mentorship. So let's stick a bit with the high school, probably for the schools that you've gone to to rather talk to them, because talking and mentorship is part of giving back.
Exactly.
What are some of the problems that you've identified that most high schoolers face?
Okay, most of the challenges, of which I was also a high schooler,
Yeah.
most of the challenges I've encountered when it comes to students, first of all, they don't believe in who they are.
They don't believe in themselves?
Exactly. When you tell them that you can make it, he himself is looking at the grades, but it doesn't look beyond. It's always said, don't focus on having, focus on being. With who you are, that's who you will. Because most of the students have come to realize, most of them, they focus on, for instance, they focus on their background. They have set their background to be their distraction for their studies. They focus on, because I'm from this, why should I study? Yeah. Some also, one of the challenges I've realized with students, they don't follow up, or rather they don't want to be given guidelines. Because you might find a student, maybe for example, he's poor in maths or rather English. Yeah. He doesn't want to approach another student to seek for help. And one thing, if you're a brilliant student, don't always fear to ask questions. He may see you as...
No one knows everything.
No one knows everything. He may see you as you're asking a useless question. But one thing I'm always certain, at the end you'll get an answer. And that answer, that's what will solve what difficulty you had in that particular session. And the last thing I can say when it comes to students, they fear their teachers. Because the teacher comes in, he's scary, he has a scary, let me see, he has a scary face. Don't look at the teacher.
Scary face, which one is this one?
Yeah, you know, maybe there are these, especially
they
chemistry.
look tough.
Yeah, especially chemistry teachers, they don't laugh, they don't make a joke. But what I'll focus on, you never know, behind the scene, that teacher is very friendly, because let me say that's the strategy I used in my high school life. Despite the fact most students, they fear that particular teacher, I'll go directly after him after the class. I'll ask him or her, what did you say about this? Despite the fact he'll look at me with that scary face, I'm creating the bonding. That bonding, that's what will make you get more than what the other students, because it's always said, always be extraordinary, don't be ordinary.
Be different.
Be different, act different.
Now, let's look a bit about the believing in yourself, which is one of the, I think, major problem that at least you've identified in most of these public schools that you go to. Because believing in yourself is something that cuts across, not just for people in high school, primary, or even campuses, the young adults, it actually cuts across. So for this particular issue, then how do you go about helping these young people to start believing in themselves? What exactly do you do?
Okay, what exactly I do? First of all, I have these books. There's a book it's called Power of Mind, The Power of Your Mind. So when I come, for example, with this book, it can help you read a lot, because there's some who may not get what I'll talk, but they'll get what the book says. Okay. So that's the first strategy I use. Yeah. The second one I use, I reach out to other, which term will I use? I reach out to other guys who have done the same, who are good in, reaching out to students. Because, for instance, I may not be good in this, but I have someone behind the scene who is good in motivating the students. So I'll bring along a motivator to talk to them. Yeah. Then the other strategy that I use when I talk to these students, let me say, when you use your, real life experience, you have your grades, you have your journey of education from different person. I bring someone who will tell of a story. I believe when that particular person, when he or she shares a testimony, it can also be of inspiration to that particular student, because most students, they believe in hearing. When I come, I tell you, I've not been passing, this is how my life has been, but at the end I managed. You too may be touched and start doing on the same.
Beautiful. And again, just when you're explaining that, you talked of sometimes even bringing someone for instance, in an area where you're not good at as a person, you bring people along, which ultimately means that you have a team at least.
Exactly.
So what is the importance of having a team and working with people and even investing in a team? How does this help someone who's into in such a venture of giving back or even doing any kind of thing in life? How is it important having a team?
Okay, the first thing, you cannot do everything
alone.
You cannot do everything alone.
Okay.
Despite the fact you are the director to this, you can't do anything. You need someone who will do. You need someone who will do, like, for instance, like, let me talk of my team.
Yes.
There's someone who is in charge of communication. There's someone who's in charge of publicizing. There's someone in charge of reaching out.
Everyone has a role at least.
Everyone has a role. So when you have a team, you'll be able to know at the end, what have you guys achieved as a team? Because, for instance, let me say I've set my place to go and reach out maybe to this organization, and you have taken you to go to the millers, or rather to the maize millers, to seek for their donation. At the end, we'll put it on table. What response have you gotten? Then the other thing, when you have a team, that's when you realize the potentials in you, because this team, when you have this team, they'll come and tell you, by this stuff we have seen this, by this stuff we have seen this. Through that team, you'll be able also to expand on your territories, because when I send someone, let me say for instance, to a place, he, for instance, will get connections. And through that connection, that's where maybe even you can get other donation from that.
Probably you couldn't have done.
Yeah, like for instance, let me say, like for this project, there's someone I sent, go to the maize millers, tell them that you have this project. So through that, we found someone who donated us variety of fruits, and that's where we started from. Because through a team, let me say, when you have a team, you'll be able to run things swiftly. Despite the fact it will be hard, through this team, that's where you guys gain to accomplish your projects in a smooth way, and as a team, you'll be able to know what you as a team have accomplished. Because, like for instance, me alone, as a person, I can't do alone.
Okay, so what you're saying is that it is good and really beneficial to have, not just have a team, but invest in them.
But a beneficial team, not a team that it's there to fail. I usually tell my team, don't be a participator. As in, I usually tell them, don't be a silent follower, be a participator.
Do something.
Do something. Don't just be in the group, you're not talking anything. And one thing I've always influenced my team, I'm not involving you in my team. I'm not after you having so much money, because so many people believe that for you to be in a team, you must have this amount of money. No. Me, I usually tell my team, as long as you have this heart of service towards the society, that's what will keep us bonding and moving, because with us being joined together, that's what we as a team will accomplish much.
Fair enough. Now let's talk about another aspect that you do in terms of giving back to the society, and this is in regards to the street families. Quite a number of them, or even the street kids, especially here in Nairobi City, almost if you go to any street, at least you won't miss one or two. So how do you go about choosing, we will go to this street, this one probably won't go to this other one, and this other one. How do you go about choosing the kind of streets you will go to probably give them food or talk to them? How do you go about it?
Okay, how I go about it, first, maybe it can be through a friend. Okay, maybe a friend can come and approach me. By that step, there's this street foundation. They have gone so much, and I've been seeing them. They're trying to raise a living, because this organization, despite the fact they have the children themselves, but they're still struggling, or rather, they're still in a hard session to get the food. So a friend will come and approach me, but Steph, why can't we approach this? So when I come to research of how this place is, I go there physically. I get to know how these children are, how they are going on, how they are faring on. Now that will be my one strategy. Now finally deciding this is the place I'm going. Then
okay. Yeah, keep going.
Okay, then on the other thing, before I choose before I choose to a place, I first, let me say, research on its foundation, because there are these foundations, there are these, let me say, there are these street-based foundations. Despite they have children in them, they don't have, let me say, because there are these organizations you'll be hearing like, hey, they're getting food after every 1 month, after every week. But there are this, even a month can end without those guys.
So
without
there's some streets where the kids can even go for very long period of time without getting anything.
Exactly. Now that's where now I put my focus
that's
on.
where you come in now.
That's why now I come in.
Okay. So also this informs how you exactly go about choosing which streets probably to go to and how to help them. Now let's talk a bit about how you're helping them. What exactly do you give this, street kids? Because there's so many needs that they probably have. So what do you give them?
Okay, what I give them first is food. And food is cooking. So with my team, we have to start, we must come up with a way. How are we going to cook for this team? Despite the fact
so you also cook for these kids?
Yeah, we also cook.
Wow.
Like for instance, the last project, we cooked for them. And when we come to realize, okay, first of all, let me say for instance, if you approach boys-based street foundation,
yes,
you realize most of them, they love, let me say, ugali. So we'll come up with a strategy. How are we going to cook for them? Because giving them money won't solve anything. They'll go and buy drugs. They'll go and find themselves in some risky behaviors. So me and my team, we come to find a way on how we are going to, let me say, be of benefit to them. We take to them food. We take to them clothes, because there are some, they don't have clothes. You find them on wrapped clothes.
Tatters.
Yeah, so I'll tell my team, like, if you have this cloth, despite the fact it's good to you and you have not worn for, let me say, even 2 weeks, give it out. Because the heart of service is in giving. And God has always said, be more of a giver than a receiver. Because when you give, that's where you are putting blessings on someone's life. And most purposely we focus on food. We leave behind what they are going to be left cooking. And we leave behind, maybe let me say, some money maybe that can help to buy other necessities that they will use.
Okay. Now, Steph, I want to briefly pick your mind on the aspect of probably what do you think the government can do? Because you're doing this at least as probably private organizations. You are really going out there trying to help this kind of kids, because again, this is also part of what you're doing in terms of giving back. But very, very briefly, do you think the government can be able to step in and also see and get a way to help this kind of kids, because there are quite many. And at times there's this question of crime rate. Some would say that especially in the early morning hours or even evening rush hours, they'd go about stealing from people, whether you're walking or even in your car. So do you feel governments can step in? And if you feel so, in what way do you think they can be able to do this?
Okay, that's a good question, because being with so many street kids, I've come to realize that one thing these kids, they need is attention. And if the government can come up with ways, or rather, despite the fact they have so many to handle with, they just create aside some funds to reach out to these street kids. It will really help these kids, because these kids, despite the fact they involve in so many such crime rates, the government, first of all, that can be a tool of them to stop them from doing so. Because if you create, let me say, for instance, if you create a foundation, you say, now this will be purposely for these kids. They involve them in, they give them what they inquire. That will be the first strategy I would love the government to involve, because personally, I want to come up with a children home. And one thing I always tell God, that to give me always the strength. Because I've not always focused on having, let me say, structures or rather buildings so that I can reach out. But I always tell myself that one day I'm going to be a mother of generations. I'll have so many who will call me mom, because that love is what they need. That food, all I can say is the government to be setting aside also to give away food donations. Yeah. Because that can help, not only food, because I've realized, like recently, the government are giving sanitizers, masks, but yes, it's good, but what about food? Because if you check, maybe for instance in Turkana, like the story that it was, someone cooking stones so that the children can, at least the children can have some peace that their mother is cooking something. May just tell the government to focus more on food.
Focus more on food.
On
is your
food.
plea.
On food.
Okay. Now, due to the interest of time, Steph, and because you also mentioned that your dream is also to start a children's home, and I well understand that there's also a project that you're doing in several children's homes. Tell us a bit about that project.
Okay, the project, for this coming September, God willing, I want to host, or rather I want to involve all the children's home in Nairobi specifically.
All of them?
Because I know I work, first of all,
big.
it starts with your mind.
Okay.
If you dream small, everything you'll get small. Dream big. Let your visions be bigger than your dreams.
Okay.
So this coming September, I want to host games. So these games, they will involve all the children's home.
There will be games?
Yeah, there will be games. I'm planning to put volleyball, football.
So that is the project?
That's the project I'm involving. And this project will be for one purpose. Those youths to discover their talents, because most of them, if you have realized, there are so many, let me say, these street kids, when they're just given a platform, you realize like they have this talent, but they don't have anyone to nurture their talent. So when I involve these sports, we do the competitions. Through that, when I come to find the winners, being a sporting person, because I also dream of becoming the world's best libero volleyball player in the world. That's my dream. And having connections, I'll make sure that I involve this child into a team. They may not have anyone to give them what they want to do, but I always tell myself, when I come in, I'll be the billboard of blessings to anyone that comes into contact.
Wow.
Because so many youths, they just need that person who will be like, let me show you what I can do so that you can tell me next. So through these games that I want to host this coming September, and one thing I've always told myself, when I say something, it must be done. It must be accomplished. That's a must.
When you think something, when you say something,
it must be done.
So the whole idea is just to discover talent in the lives of these children.
And I involve them in other teams. I involve them with the coaches. I'll tell them like, coach, there's this person. And because through these games, I'll also invite over coaches. I'll invite whosoever God will bring me for, because people will always be compelled to help you in whatever you do. As long as it's giving back to the society, you'll always have a favor on the upper hand. So when I involve these coaches, of which I'm so sure, for a team to be big, like let me say KCB, or rather for it to be big, it started from someone being picked from somewhere.
Okay.
So that's where
So
I'll
for
start.
something to be big, it has to start small.
It has to start
Okay, and I think
small.
that's a better place to finish this conversation. For you to see something the way it is, it has ultimately begun from a small space.
Exactly.
All right, thank you so much, Steph. So again, that has been Stephanie Wanjiru, National Director, CTB organization, talking to us about giving back to the society and some of the projects that she is involved in, and also those that she is planning to get involved in terms of just giving back to the society, and also what one can be able to do to identify passion, purpose, and what it is that they are built for. And that is how we wrap it up this Wednesday morning. Many thanks for making time from me and on behalf of the entire team that made this show a success this morning. We say thank you so much for watching. Till tomorrow, be good to one another, stay safe. My name is Doreen Arange. Good morning.